Well, there's the crack. Welcome, fellas and filettis and delicious. I have cookie on my screen now. Welcome to Gavin and Games, fellas. It's Jaffe. It's good to see everybody. Today's a very special episode of Gavin and Games. We may do one later in the afternoon. Depends. I'm actually going out to see a show tonight, but come on now. But we got to get to the news today specifically. This is a very focused episode on our friend Phil Spence'r. He's been making a lot of news. He spoke with Kind of Funny this morning, or actually yesterday, and they played it this morning, 6 a.m. I was at the Padres game yesterday. I'm giving you all my excuses. Like, I go to a show. It's the Padres game. I couldn't get up because I was sunburnt. Point is, we're going to watch it live. A lot of you have already seen it. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about the state of Xbox, state of Phil Spencer's employment, state of Redfall, all that good stuff. And we're just going to kind of get all that jam nutrition packed into this one show. And then later today or tonight or tomorrow, when we do the next Gavin Games, we will have talked this one to death and we can move on, because there is other news happening, like Saudi Arabia banning the new Final Fantasy. What? Yeah, you goddamn right. And let's be clear on that. That is not just, oh, that sucks. The folks in Saudi Arabia can't play Final Fantasy 17, 16, whatever the fuck it is. That is a shape of things to come, as we see Kojima taking pictures with one of the Saudi Arabian princes the other day. What's that about? As we see Saudi Arabia continuing to invest in everything from Nintendo to, I think, even Epic. At this point, I think Epic's on there. I know Nintendo's on there. Embracer, I think, is on there. It is, look, you suddenly start owning a percentage of a company that's meaningful, and you can step in and say, well, we in the Saudi Arabian folks don't really like much of your politics over there. So take this out, not just for Saudi Arabia, but for everywhere. So we're going to talk about that, but not today, or at least not this show. This is all Phil Spence'r loaded. I will tell you one thing. I went to the Padres game yesterday. I have to tell you one thing. Now maybe this is, this, and this is not about baseball, whether you love, hate, or not baseball. Game was pretty good. It wasn't great because it was a fucking blowout. The the Padres won 7-1. So it was like, whatever, but still, listen to this. We're walking out of the game. We're going behind Petco Park because we took the trolley downtown. And I see these two guys coming out of the back, like where they've got security cordoned off everything. So they're clearly on the inside, and they're coming through the gates, like going to their cars, going home, like they've been working. These two motherfuckers were carrying sniper rifles, the size of which I have never seen in my goddamn life. Even in a Kojima game, these sniper rifles were about 5.5 feet tall, almost as tall as I am. I'm like 5'6", right? What the fuck? And I knew at Comic-Con they had snipers on the roof, but it never occurred to me they had snipers on the rooftops at Petco Park during the game. And it makes all the sense in the world, because if you don't know Petco Park, it's like a C, right? So the audience is seated in an amphitheater, and the rest of it's open, so people can get on skyscrapers and office building balconies and watch the game and view out to the world. I imagine there's probably snipers all over the goddamn place, looking for people who might be shooting people in the stands, shooting players on the field. I didn't fucking know about this. This was insane. These fucking sniper. I almost wanted to stop and say, can I please take a picture? But he had a sniper rifle, so I don't fucking know. Anyway. Okay, here we go. Let's talk about Phil Spence'r. Let me get to the chat real quick, and then we will move forward. Yeah, Mr. K says we should be grateful. I'm not saying it's bad. I mean, look, when I go to Comic-Con, I feel pretty safe because I know it's hardcore security there. Our first super chat from our good friend Ben Frazier. He hears the blues a calling. He says, Jaffe, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, Jaffe, how you been? I've been pretty good. Pretty good. Pretty good. What was it like working with Paul Jenkins? Oh, I love Paul. Paul Jenkins was one of the writers we brought on towards the end of Twisted Metal Black to work on the voiceover for the character dialogue after we decided the whole thing wasn't going to be CG like we thought. And he was a delight. He was and remains if we lived in the same area, we would be friends. Like every time I've gotten together with a guy, I love hanging out with him. He's the guy who wrote a wonderful run on Spider-Man, created some great characters like the Sentry. He also wrote the origin of Wolverine, one of the best comic writers of the last, certainly the 90s and the early 2000s. He's a gem. He's excellent, Ben. I loved working with him. Very creative guy as well. He also has an idea for a video game. If you ever see him, ask him about it. I'll just say it's called The Tomorrow Man. And I'm like, oh, it's one of those, I wish I would have fucking thought of that goddamn ideas. Okay. Let's get to the interview. A lot of you have seen it. Bukaki says, man goes outside and is amazed. Fuck you, motherfucker. And Malice says, can't wait to see Jaffe roast Phil Spencer. I am not here to roast the guy. We all know. Look, here's my position coming into this interview that he did with the Kind of Funny Fellas. I love Game Pass. I love its opportunity to disrupt the industry and, more importantly, improve the art form. I've talked about that ad nauseum. I don't know Phil Spencer. I've met him once in my life. I think there's a point, though, especially after Redfall, that, he has been dropping the ball since Xbox X and S launched, in my opinion, although he's done some amazing things as it relates to Game Pass. So do I think it's time for Phil Spencer to go? No. Do I think it's time for someone to step in above Phil and say, you need help, and some of the people under you have absolutely got to go? Yes. We can talk about that a little bit later after the interview, depending on what he says. Jez Corden wrote an article yesterday for Windows Central, semi-defending Phil and the Xbox leadership, and I was just like, I don't know. But again, Jez writes for Windows Central, so I don't know what, maybe he's got a dog in the fight. Who the fuck knows? Okay, so here's how it's going to work. I'm going to play the video live. I'm going to stop it when I want to stop it and say, oh my God. If you guys want to chat about it at any time, that's fine. You can put yourself in the Discord. The link is below in this video. I'm not going to turn on the red phone right now, but I may later. So this is a stop and start discussion based on what we're watching. This does not have to be a let's just all shut up now for the next 40 minutes. This is going to be a very interactive experience. Kyler says, I can't believe everyone dislikes Redfall. I don't, look, I played it for about 4 hours. I love aspects of it, right? Turn on the red tube. You mean the red phone, Eddie T? Hello, Eddie T. I can't turn on now because it'll be too distracting. Hello, Silver Joysticks. Thank you for becoming a member, by the way. I appreciate that, buddy. I'll turn on the phone after this, but it's distracting. The point, though, is that I played Redfall for about 4 hours. I loved the lore and the thematic and the world building, and I love the setting. The game itself, all the terrible bugs aside, I thought was very undercooked. Like, it felt like playing an alpha, to which to say, I'm done with it now. I have no interest in continuing to play it. All right, here we go. This is the Kind of Funny Fellas. Here we go. Sweet Daddy Lindo asked me after this, buddy. And I will do my best to keep an eye on the chat. If anybody in the Discord sees a great comment that I should stop the video for, let me know. But I'm going to be moving back and forth. So I'm not ignoring you. I can't see everything at once. Okay, here we go. I have the Jolly Rancher.
What the heck is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Kind of Funny XCast. Your home for...
I just want you to understand something. And again, I don't think I've had a falling out with Greg Miller at all. He doesn't follow me anymore. We used to kind of be friendly. But, maybe he thinks I've just thrown in with Colin, so fuck you, Greg. I mean, look, I think what Greg did with Colin, from what I understand, I'm not a fan of. That's not the point, though. I don't mean to tangent. I'm just saying that, honestly, when I see this set and I see what Colin has done with Last Stand Media, I go, Patreon members, this is what you're paying for. Smoke machines and cameras and sexy studio floor. What are you doing, Kind of Funny? You don't need all this crap to deliver. This is 2023. This is a waste of fucking money. Somebody's letting their ego write checks their body can't. Anyway, Jolly Rancher, here we go.
All things Xbox here at Kinda Funny. Of course, I'm one of your hosts, Snowbike Mike, and today I am joined by both of my gaming dads.
Turn the volume up. Okay.
Very special guest. You see him in the middle if you're watching or if you're listening. It's the head of Xbox.
Let
Phil
me know if that's
Spence'r,
better.
Joining the XCast today. Phil, we'll start with you. What up, homie? How are you?
Truth be told, I've had easier couple of weeks. It'll be good discussion.
Can a white guy call a white guy homie, especially in front of a black guy? I'm just saying, it's a homie's like, you know, African American AAVE, right? Do white guys is white? It doesn't matter. Let's focus. But I don't think you should say homie. It just seems weird. Look at Paris. He's just like going, "What the fuck? Did you say homie? Come on now." It's not racist. Okay, here we go.
I'm always happy to come on, talk to XCast. You guys do an amazing job talking to the community, keeping it
How's
real.
the audio, kids and cadetties?
It's an honor to be on with you guys.
Thanks, Phil. Of course, you have been on a number of Kinda Funny content, but this is the first time you have joined us with the XCast here with the Green Team. So we appreciate your time and being here with me and my two gaming dads. Of course, I'll go
Six
around the
iron,
room.
I'm not being
Paris Lily,
serious,
how are
no.
you today?
Oh, I'm doing fantastic. And as you already said, thank you, Phil, for coming on this episode. Greg Miller, instead of going on your show, finally he is on the actual Xbox show for Kinda Funny. So I'm very excited and appreciative of that. Looking forward to the conversation.
Big deal. Gary Witta, you have a green juvie today. You're feeling the green.
Yeah, this kiwi straw is not my favorite flavor, I don't think, but it was the only one you had in the fridge.
No
You know,
one
the
cares.
price was right, so I
No one
grabbed one.
cares.
You love a free energy
You
drink.
know me, I don't care what it is. If it's free,
I'm happy you're back, Gary. And we have a really fun conversation and discussion to be had with you and the team. I see you got your book. Why don't you plug that book really quick for us?
Oh, no, I didn't bring this in to plug it. I just had a spare copy. I was going to give it to someone. But no, Gundog, we actually had a small change in the publishing date. Comes out August 1st. You can pre-order it right now on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, anywhere quality books are sold.
I love that. You're
Yeah.
just bringing the book around now. I like that.
Just
You don't
carry
want
it
to
around,
promote it.
yeah.
You just carry the book around.
Yeah.
All right. Good for you. I like that. Well, of course, this is the Kinda Funny XCast. We post each and every Thursday at 6 a.m. West Coast, Best Coast time on youtube.com/kindafunnygames, podcast services around the globe, and, of course, on roosterteeth.com. Don't forget, we are now Epic Games partners, which means you can support the team in a brand new way. If you're buying games off the Epic Games store, if you're upgrading your look in Fortnite, Rocket League, or Fall Guys, don't forget to use our Epic creator code Kinda Funny at checkout. And of course, we love to shout out those who support us over on Patreon to help keep the lights on here in the spare bedroom. If you're over on Patreon, thank you for, of course, watching live with multiple.
Come
of our
on,
shows.
man,
We're
let's
not
go.
doing
Let's
this
go.
episode
Get
live,
with
but
it.
Thank you for your support.
I
And thank
your
you to our
wife may
Patreon
like this
producers
level of
for the month
foreplay, but
of
I'm
May,
getting annoyed. I'm ready for the main
Thank you for
event.
your
Let's go.
support.
Stick it
This
in.
week, the
Come
Kinda Funny
on,
XCast is
Jaffe. That is
sponsored by Honey
so
and Rocket
not
Money, but myself and the team will tell
classy
you all about that in just a little bit.
At
Let's
all.
get to the show. We get to hang out with Phil Spence'r. It's going to be a fun time together.
Rage, I can't
Phil,
fast forward. I don't know
let's
where I'm
just
fast
jump
forwarding
right into
to.
it. And it's a tough way to start this episode. It's my birthday this
Hey,
week, and I
Mohammed,
didn't want to
thank you,
have to
buddy.
do it like this. But Phil, it's been a tough week in the Xbox universe. As you know, of course, the CMA.
Yeah, 'cause you're
kinda
releasing some
blocking our
shit.
acquisition of
Anyway.
Activision Blizzard King and Redfall coming out to poor reviews at the launch. Let's start off at the top. Phil, let's talk about the CMA and, of course, this Activision Blizzard acquisition. How are you feeling about this?
Hello,
what
Joe.
should be the overall mindset for Xbox gamers when we look at this after months and months of conversation?
Yeah, we remain confident. Obviously, the news from the CMA, which for those not tracking all this, is the United Kingdom's regulatory board on acquisitions to block the acquisition. We'll be appealing that. That's our plan. We continue to work with the European Union. We'll continue to work with the FTC. I think there are like 14 jurisdictions all up. We're working on approval. I think we have 9 approvals so far. But the CMA decision was disappointing. I've been talking to that group for coming up on a year. They've defined a market of cloud gaming that, in my mind, doesn't really exist yet today. But they have a point of view that maybe we have a lead in a market that is just forming, and that this content could somehow prohibit others from competing in that market. But we'll appeal. We stay on it. The company remains very, very committed. We think Activision Blizzard King is not our strategy. but it is an accelerant for our strategy. So we're still heads down and working through regulatory.
I am pleased to hear that, of course, as a big fan of many of those gaming franchises over there. I'm looking forward to seeing this deal go through, and I'm glad to hear that you and the team are still hard at work at making this happen. It has been a long road. It's been a tough road to talk about it each and every single week, kind of falling
Oh my
apart,
God, no
but,
one cares.
It's always the Brits, isn't it, Mike?
It's
We're always
No
flying
one
the
needs
ointment.
color commentary right
We got it. We just got to rain on
It-
everyone.
this is what this is like. This is like having, metaphorically, let's be clear. It's like having a beautiful woman laid out on the bed going, are we ready? And you're doing shtick. We don't need, no one's tuned in for the shtick. No one gives a fudge fucking frenetic, just go.
Everyone's parade.
It's a tough one, Gary. Of course, we got to move on to the next one. Phil, of course, Redfall has released from Arcane Austin, and it's been a tough release week for that, coming out to low reviews and a lot of disappointment from many fans. Can you talk about that? What is your thoughts right now as we head into the first week of this game being out?
Yeah, man, I'll start. I'll hit Redfall, but I'll just say all up. There's nothing that's more difficult for me than disappointing the Xbox community. I've been a part of it for a long time.
Really?
I obviously work on Xbox, head of the business, have a lot of friends,
Business.
get a lot of feedback.
Business.
And just to kind of watch the community lose confidence, be disappointed.
Wonder
I'm
why.
disappointed. I'm upset with myself. I kind of revisit our process. I think back to the announcement of 60 frames per second, and then we weren't shipping 60 frames per second. That was kind of our punch in the chin, rightfully, a couple weeks ago. And then seeing the game come out, and the critical response was not what we wanted. And it's disappointing. And so kind of pick myself up. What can we learn? How can we get better? One thing I'll fight is kind of what went wrong. There's clearly quality and execution things that we can do. But one thing I won't do is push against creative aspirations of our teams.
Who gives a
Then
shit?
a lot of people will say, hey, you've got teams know how to do one kind of game. Just force them to go do the one kind of game that they have a proven track record for. And I'm just not a believer in that. Maybe that means I'll underdeliver for some of our fans out there, but
Yes, it does. Hang on, Luca. Luca, I'll get to all the super chats right after, but thank you for that, Luca. I very, very much appreciate it, buddy.
when a team
But yes, you will disappoint, because the fact of the matter is, your job is not to make developers' dicks feel better. Your job is to say, hey, we want to keep developers in business. We want to make them happy and make a lot of money and make stuff they love. But part of your job is putting the right game with the right fucking team. That's part of it, man.
team like Rare wants to do Sea of Thieves, when a team like Obsidian wants to do Grounded, when Tango wants to go do Hi-Fi, when everybody probably thought they were doing Evil Within 3. I want to give the teams the creative platform to go and push their ability, push their aspirations. But I also need to have a great selection of games that are continue to come that surprise and delight our fans. And we underdelivered on that. And for that, I apologize. It's not what I expect, not what I want. But it's ours to deliver.
What a... Okay, now, I have no idea if this guy or Gary are going to push this guy. But at that point, that's just you saying, yeah, we fucked up. If you don't follow it up, Xbox Red Mustache guy, with, yeah, but this is chronic. This is not the first time. This is a pattern. Then you're not doing what you should be doing. Here we go.
So following up on that, Phil. So again,
All right, there you go.
appreciate
Good.
the
Someone's following up.
transparency on that, but there is a second component. to
Six
this.
Iron, good to
And
hear, buddy.
As you may or may not know, I talk to a lot of people in the Xbox community because I want to understand, what people are excited about, what they're frustrated about, things like that. So kind of sticking on this conversation about Redfall, but it's kind of a bigger general question as well. And I kind of want to read directly from this so I make sure I get it crystal clear. So, what goes into the decision to delay a game when you launch it feature incomplete or there's a bunch of technical issues? Obviously, we've seen recent examples around the industry. Redfall and Halo Infinite are two that stick out in my mind for Xbox. We obviously have seen the review scores. Clearly, we've had the opinion that the game should be delayed. We know every developer wants to ship the best game that they possibly can, but from your level, what's the balance there on when to ship a game that may be feature incomplete or have some technical issues, or just simply give it more time and delay it?
Well, I think those are, and I'm happy to go very deep on this. I think if I think about a team's execution on a game, we had a creative vision, and did we realize that vision through the game that we created? That's not a delay question if the answer is no. Like, you can't take something that you started on. This isn't a Redfall specific conversation,
Right.
but we will build games that review in the high 80s, and we will build games that review in the 60s. I mean, it's just kind of part of being in game publishing. And if you're afraid of that, then you shouldn't be in the entertainment business. You shouldn't be in the games business. That said, every time we deliver something.
Okay, but the problem with that logic, though, is that your competitors have what a dumb thing to say, because it sounds like wisdom. It sounds like, and again, I don't want to see Phil Spence'r fail. I don't want to see the man fired. So please know where I'm coming from here. But that's not a good answer, because it sounds like what he's saying is like, hey, that's the breaks. Everybody kind of steps up to the plate and swings and misses sometimes. You're right. But Sony doesn't miss near as much as you guys do, and Nintendo certainly doesn't miss near as much as you guys do, and Capcom doesn't miss near as much as you guys do at all, really, these days. So when you are the steward, the shepherd of one of the most powerful video game companies on the planet, your batting average needs to be a lot bit better, Phil. So yes, you do have to make mistakes and take risks, but don't fucking paint this as some sort of noble exercise as it goes into making entertainment, because part of it is also balancing those risks with some wisdom. And wisdom, as much as everybody loves to review Microsoft Flight Sim, your console players aren't looking for that fucking game. You know it like you fucking know it. Nor are they looking for Age of Empires. They want some fucking meat and potato games, and they want them to be great. And I'm not saying what he's saying is philosophically wrong. If I was teaching a game design class, I would agree with him. But when you're in this position, come on, what the fuck? What the fuck? Okay, let's see. Phil Spence'r has a loser mentality, says Wooden. Sony has never once missed in 5 console. Well, no, that's not true, Fupi. Sony misses often enough. They missed with my game. And, they miss. But more often than not, they don't. Fupi says, but Jaffe, you're forgetting Minecraft Legends. Right. Minecraft Legends, by the way, I know you're teasing, but Minecraft Legends dropped 70% in the UK after the first week. So, Heat 92, fuck you, man. He's saying Redfall is a good game. It's just Sony fanboys hating. I'm sorry, buddy. I've spent 4 hours with it, and it's not the piece of shit people say it is. I'll agree with you there. It's got some really good things to recommend it. But overall, as a game, to say it's good, I mean, come on, man. I don't think you can defend that you like it, but come on. I mean, it's not that good. There's a lot of problems with it that are just not deniable. That said, though, there are some great things about it. All right, let's keep going. Here we go.
Below our own internal expectations that surprises us, we should check our process. I don't look at the review scores on Redfall, and there are quality issues, and we're working on those. But I think there's a fundamental piece of feedback that we get that the game isn't realizing the creative vision that it had for its players. that doesn't feel like a, hey, just delay it. That feels like the game had a goal to do one thing, and when players are actually playing, they're not feeling that thing. They're not feeling the creative execution of the team. When a game needs to be delayed, what we did with Halo, we did with Starfield, we did with Redfall, because the production timeline is saying we have this vision and our production timelines don't get us to the completion of that vision, we do delay games. We do that. Learning about the quality, there are clearly, I've seen them. I know there are bugs in Redfall that's launching. But when I look at like the crash rates on the game, because we get all the telemetry of everything that's happened, it's not out of proportion for a game that has just launched. It's kind of in the pocket of what we would expect. That's not to deny any of the animation, streaming of texture bugs, the AI bugs that we've seen. We will go work on those. But when I look at the review scores of this game, it's did we have enough of creative differentiation in our core idea, and did we realize that creative ambition? I'm a huge supporter of Arcane Austin. Their track record is awesome. I love a lot of the great games that they've built. This is one where the team didn't hit their own internal goals when it launched. I think it's maybe a little simplistic to just say, hey, if you would have just delayed it 3 months, the core creative of the game would have delivered on something that was different than what it was. So I look at them at different camps. If there's a production timeline issue, we've been open to delaying. If we just have more bugs than we should have at the end of a game, we're open to delaying. At some point, we have to have a creative vision and put the game out, and reviewers and players will tell us what they think.
Okay, but nowhere in that. Right, I'm with you, Tom, from Toonami. They should have canceled this mess. There's nothing he said in that statement to suggest the part of the process where you go, the creative vision isn't worthy, or the execution of that creative vision that we're seeing throughout the process isn't worthy. I played this game, and even though I don't like Dishonored, I respect it. I'm a big Harvey Smith fan. I love what he's done for the industry. I've loved what he's done for simulation-based games. And some of that is there in Redfall. Some of the level design is so Deus Ex, it's delightful. Like, you can go into this one store and you can crawl through the vents, or you can get up on the rafters, or you can go in the back door and surprise people, or you can come in the front or break the windows and start blasting. How you want to approach it is up to you in that way and all that. The AI, though, doesn't seem to give a fuck about any of that. It just seems to be randomly popping up enemies that run at you and attack. So that can't be the vision of this. And if it was the vision of this from the beginning, then when Microsoft acquired them, they should have said, wait, guys, we're not putting this on Xbox. This is not good. And maybe Phil doesn't have the ability to determine if it's good or not. I don't know what kind of a gamer this guy is. Maybe he's like, it sounds great, vampires. I like the I don't know what he does with his day. But I know, and again, I don't mean to keep comparing Xbox to Sony, but that's the only comparison I know, in terms of, in my bones. And then even as an observer from other companies like Nintendo, you think Nintendo would have shipped this? I mean, ask yourself that. Scott Rohde, who runs the American division, that motherfucker's more of a gamer than probably 90% of the people watching this channel. He would have played this, a year ago and said, okay, I know you guys keep telling me the game is supposed to be this sort of however you want to approach it with your friends, but I'm not finding that. Or it's almost like he's not really engaged enough, or maybe he doesn't have the experience to be engaged enough. Maybe they should hire someone to do. I have no fucking clue, but it's weird. Luca, thank you, buddy, for the super chat. He says, I told you he's trying to appear as the biggest loser in history ahead of the EU decision. Disgraceful. I appreciate the super chat. I'm not entirely sure that's a valid tactic. It's like, well, we weren't going to clear you for the regulatory body, but then we saw how pathetic you looked on Kind of Funny. Come on. James Hull says Phil is a massive gamer. I know he's a massive gamer of Age of Empires, because I've seen it, and I know he games. I'm not saying he's never touched a controller. He's not Jim Ryan. It ain't like Jim Ryan's a gamer either. But the fact of the matter is that if you can't look at Redfall throughout the process and go, this isn't what you're saying it is. It's not about delaying it for bugs. It goes back to his creative vision point, but they're not addressing that. They're not addressing, Phil, when do you come in and say, but the creative vision itself is what's rotten, or the creative vision itself is great, but we're approaching alpha quickly and we still haven't seen it in any real way represented. All right, let's keep going.
Can I jump in?
Yeah, of course. Please, Gary.
So I have just a couple of small observations and then a question. First of all, I want to give Phil props for coming on here
Give him
today
props,
and,
Gary.
and talk just for a minute about why I admire Phil, because he and I have been here before. Back in 2020, during the pandemic, when I was doing Animal Talking, Phil, you'll remember this. Phil was booked to come on my dumb Animal Crossing talk show. And then after he was booked, the news came that Halo Infinite was going to be delayed and would not ship with the Xbox Series X and S. And it was you'll remember, it was a big deal. There was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth and people rending their garments. And I was fully prepared for the other shoe to drop. I was waiting for a call from Xbox PR, from Jeff, your friend of mine, Jeff, over in Xbox PR, to say, Phil's not going to be able to come on the show live because, it's a big mess right now. We don't want to put him in the firing line for that. And Jeff called, and I thought, here it is. Here comes the other shoe. And he was like, Phil just wants to know, when's the tech rehearsal? It's going ahead. And he came on a live talk show and took a bunch of tough questions on a really tough subject.
Number one, who gives a fuck? Who gives a fuck? The man is there now. Talk to him now. Don't blow smoke and sunshine up his butthole. I'm sorry, did you just say Jez Corden called? Jez Corden? Okay, because Jez Corden wrote an article yesterday trying to kind of massage this and make it like, hey, you can't blame Phil and Xbox for Pete Hines' problems. And I just assumed he worked for Windows Central, but he wasn't directly tied in. He's got the kind of relationship with Phil Spencer and his job. No, Jeff, not Jez. Wait, let's make sure.
Talk show. And then after he was booked, the news came that Halo Infinite was going to be delayed and would not ship with the Xbox Series X and S. And it was you'll remember, it was a big deal. There was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth and people rending their garments. And I was fully prepared
Jeff Gordon.
for the other shoe to drop. I was waiting for a call from Xbox PR, from Jeff, your friend of mine, Jeff, over in Xbox PR, to say, Phil's...
Gotcha. Okay, fuck me, I'm wrong. You're still blowing sunshine up his butthole.
not going to be able to come on the show live because, it's a big mess right now. We don't want to put him in the firing line for that. And Jeff called, and I thought, here it is. Here comes the other shoe. And he was like, Phil just wants to know, when's the tech rehearsal? It's going ahead. And he came on a live talk show and took a bunch of tough questions on a really tough subject. Who gives a shit? Took it on the chin. And I've always admired him for that, for not... We would have been very easy thing to pull out, and he didn't fall, has underperformed. I just want to point this out as a creative. Every time somebody takes a big bet, especially a big AAA bet, on an original idea, a new IP, and it fails, everybody suffers. It's bad for everybody because it makes it that much harder for the Phils and the Jim Ryans of the world, the big, the creative, the decision makers to take a chance on them. Oh, but the last time we did that, it didn't work. Like maybe let's just make a sequel to the next thing, or let the algorithm tell us what to do. So every time somebody takes a risk on something new, and especially if it involves something different in game design, let's try something that has been done before and it doesn't work, it hurts everybody. So I just want everyone to be clear, this sucks for everybody. And I see it in my business, I see it in Hollywood, I see it in film and television.
Okay, I'm sorry, you're making, again, Gary Whitta is not wrong. I like Gary Whitta as a human, I like him as a writer. But, he's also the guy that wrote the Will Smith stinker After Earth, okay? So he knows what he's talking about. Just like I know what I'm talking about with somebody in the chat was saying, Jaffe, I'd rather play Redfall than Drawn to Death, my last game. Sure, a lot of people would. I've had failures too. My last video game failure was so bad that it made me say, I don't want to do this anymore. But that's the consequences. That's life in the NFL. You put on the helmet, you put on the pads, you go out there and you get the shit kicked out of you, and you're willing to take the hits because you're willing to run with the ball. And sometimes you get to run with the ball. But don't fucking stand here and act like Phil is some knight in shining armor, Gary Whitta, because he does what everyone else in entertainment does, which is that is part of the job. I assure you he is very well compensated in stock and yearly salary and bonuses for basically being willing to take the hits and make the decisions. But ultimately, there is a point where you say, if Will Smith would have followed up After Earth with 5 more After Earths, or if he would have hit somebody at the Oscars, his career would be over. That's kind of that's the point. That's why they get paid so well. This is a waste of time, and it's a defense that just feels like, why are you supporting this narrative, Gary Whitta? Maybe, I don't know. I don't like it.
Television. It's why so much content is so generic and derivative and formulaic, because everyone's afraid to take a risk. And
no, that's not accurate. There are lots of risks taken, and people don't show up for them. People show up for the generic shit that they're comfortable with a little bit of a twist. It's got nothing to do with anything else. It's how entertainment has always worked. Most people come to entertainment for comfort food that they already know what it is. That's why a lot of the movie trailers basically give you the whole fucking movie before you even step foot in the theater, because people want to know what they're getting into before they buy the ticket. You can't blame the audience for not taking a risk on content. I mean, you can, but that's the business you're in. I mean, they rarely do that. Make your budgets low enough and you can risk all day.
When something new succeeds, it's good for everyone. When something new and original fails, it's bad for everyone. So I just want to acknowledge that this is like a big shit sandwich, and we all have to take a bite, including the Sony people, including everybody. Specifically with sorry, this is a long time. Specifically with a question for Phil, I want to talk specifically about Redfall.
I'm not eating a shit sandwich, you moron. I'm not even a Sony person. I got Redfall. I'm disappointed that it's not great. I'm disappointed that it's going to continue to give birth to people that think Redfall being bad is a reflection of Game Pass being bad, which it is not. They are two very separate things, and there is no line that has been drawn to connect the two. That's what I'm worried about. Don't fucking act like I'm 52 fucking years old. I'm not here beating up on a fucking console company. They didn't make the game that I like. Ghost of Tsushima used to. Fuck you, condescending bald fuck. And I say that because I'm a bald fuck too. So I'm not. I like Gary, but you know, it's fucking based NFL, whatever. Let me get these super chats real quick, then we'll let Gary continue with whatever it is he's talking about. The Mars Shark, thank you, buddy, for the super chat. He says, "Let's not all be fooled, huh? The timing of this interview and the channel it's on is all screams of calculated move for damage control. I don't buy it. So far, good sir Shark, I don't buy it either." Brett Williams has been a member for 8 months. Thank you very much, sir, for that support. He says, "It seems Phil's hands are tied by executives. He should leave for something better instead of getting dragged through the mud." What executives? He only answers to the head of Microsoft. Everybody that's an executive that could be tying his hands are below him. He's letting people that work for him guide the ship. Well, maybe that's part of the problem. That's a him problem.
You say that you're disappointed in the reaction. That to me suggests that the reaction was something different.
What if Phil was masturbating right now?
But I know
like that's his masturbating face.
They get subjected to all kinds of internal testing.
I'm just saying, these are things I think about that you should think about too.
Come in and even write like mock reviews or come like hit detection out that will tell you, here's what you can expect the press to make of your game. So usually you've got a sense of what the game
is going to
how it's going to be received before.
If I was talking over that, if you don't know what he's saying, yes, I have found when I worked with Sony, every single time we sent games out for mock reviews to see roughly what the reviews would be, because then marketing uses that in terms of marketing spend and whatnot, they have been eerily spot on. Like they were spot on with Twisted Metal. They were spot on with the Gods of War. It's kind of disturbingly creepy, but it's a good tool. And he's right. They knew Redfall was going to get these scores unless Phil's answer is, "Oh, we didn't do that." But everybody does that.
It's released, so you can be prepared for it. So Phil, when you say you're disappointed, does that mean that you thought the game was going to be better received, or was it in line with expectation? How surprised were you by the reaction, or how, like, internally, how much do you know? I feel like this one, people we know the game it has problems. Like, to what extent was this different from what you expected? And also, and sorry, I know I've been talking a long time.
God damn, Gary's the Gary Whitta show.
That is, when a game is released now, it's not like the old days when a cartridge was shipped in a box and the release of the game was the end of the game's like development cycle. Now it's just the 1.0 release is just.
Somebody please never give Gary Whitta an award, because I think he would rival Chris Judge for how long he would talk at the goddamn microphone. Jesus fucking Christ.
Just a point on the roadmap. To what extent, given that what we're talking about here is not just 30 frames, but design issues, things that may be more conceptual, to what extent do you think, or are you committed to continuing to work on the game and getting it maybe a year down the road, Cyberpunk, No Man's Sky? We've seen these redemptive stories in the past. To what extent do you hold out hope that you can still get the game closer to where you wanted it to be at launch? I know that was a lot.
No, it's well. At first, I thought your words about creative ambition of teams, you especially. I mean, you've lived this, you've done this, are very well said and very spot on.
Okay,
So
I'm sorry. Phil should be on the left side of the screen. Gary should be on the right side. Gary was on the right side in the master shot. Now he's on the left side. This is disturbing. Here we go.
thank you for that, and that's why I love your voice in this community, because you've created, you've seen kind of ups, and as anybody in the industry, we've all seen downs, and
Some more than others, Phil.
the score.
Some more than
we do
others.
mock reviews for every game that we launch, and this is like double digits lower than we thought we would be with this game.
Double digits lower. It's sitting at what is it right now? 63 on Metacritic. So they were double digits. So they were thinking like an 8. Think about that. Think about that. They were expecting an 80. Anywhere from a 75 to an 80 is what and it wasn't double digit. Double digits is plural, but it's at a 58 right now. What the fuck were they expecting?
Through our mock reviews. And that's what's one of the disappointing things. Like we would never strive to launch a game that we thought was going to review in the low 60s. It's not part of our goals. If you look at our review scores over the last year, it's not a defense at all. If you look at the review scores over the last year, I think the teams have done a better job in upping the level of quality of the games that we've shipped. Some of those games first shipped on PlayStation, but still, when I go through the list of the games, you still have to build a game, you still have to ship a game. And this game was significantly below our internal metrics in terms of where it actually reviewed. But that's not on anybody but us. Like, we have to own that. In terms of our commitment to the game,
you have to own it, but you're not. You saying you have to own that, you should have owned it when you launched Xbox with no hardware, with no software. You should have owned it when you delayed Halo. You should have owned it when you delayed Halo, released Halo, and it still wasn't ready. You should have owned it when Minecraft Legends released to a 71 a week before Redfall released to a what did somebody say, a 58 or something, or Bleeding Edge. Come on, when you should have owned it. Is a talking point unless you can back it up with references to how you owned it, but you haven't.
Absolutely, the team at Arcane is on taking the near-term feedback. We're still working on the 60 frames per second. We have a good timeline for that.
You have bigger problems than 60 frames per second, baby.
And we're going to continue to work the game. I think we've shown a commitment to games like Sea of Thieves and like Grounded to continue to go and build games. But I also know that these games are $70, and I'm not gonna I'm gonna take
even if they're not
$70 that needs to be great. You know, I think what I have with the Xbox community, what I am a part of.
I'm sorry, I hate to keep stopping it, but I just want to be clear here. The price point isn't the issue. The idea of saying that it's a $70 game, so it should be at 60 frames and it shouldn't be buggy. There are games that I can get on itch.io that are free. There are games that I buy that are AA and indie that are a fraction of what a $70, let alone my Game Pass Ultimate every month charges. And even though they don't come close to the production value of a $70 game, they are addictive and wonderful and unique and fresh and great. Look at Inscription. Inscription didn't need to be $70 and it wasn't. Don't act like the issue is if we could just get the tech down, people would be loving Redfall. No, they wouldn't. No, they fucking wouldn't. It's not compelling. It just isn't to most people. I'm sure people out there love it, but I'll get to the chats in a second.
Is a team, there's still questions that pop every so often of how committed is the company to this category? When are we just going to push Xbox out of the market? There's a lot of Twitter firing of Phil right now, which is fine. I'm way overpaid for the role I have anyway. So I get that's my responsibility.
Yep.
But we will remain committed.
You are the Gus Malzahn of the video game industry. And again, that's you got to be very specific knowing what the fuck I'm talking about there.
At a low point right now in terms of my delivery on that commitment to the community. But it very much stays. I want to support the team. I want to support the creative ambitions of the teams. and I want to support the players. And we let.
I don't care what you want
with the launch of the game.
I don't care what you want. I care what you can do.
That's what creative is about.
No, you absolutely do. And to kind of start transitioning this into hopefully more happy news, but I do want to address something, around that. Obviously today you announced the Xbox Game Showcase, which will be happening this June. And obviously there's going to be a lot of new reveals and surprises. That
I hope so. Don't say obviously there's going to be a lot of new reveals. You don't know that.
Another common theme that I do hear through the community, and I've actually said this to you in the past, but it's about communication coming from Xbox. I do feel back in 2021, you did a fantastic job with communication, which arguably has been the best year during this current generation of Xbox. Obviously, we know that 2022 was a light year for Xbox as far as releasing titles. Now, last year, during the showcase, you had the 12-month plan. You didn't necessarily deliver on all the games coming.
No, we didn't deliver. Not necessarily. We didn't deliver.
Absolutely. So my point of bringing that up is this, talking about some of the lessons learned that come out of that. And obviously, even with not every game making the 12 months, going back to, again, game development, things happen, things aren't always going to come on time. But as we go into this showcase, one of the common themes that I hear is I don't know enough about things that you've announced in the past, like even more specifically going back to 2020. And I'll just run down a quick list of it. Vowed, Perfect Dark, Everwild, which is something we really don't know that much about. Fable, State of Decay 3, Contraband. Obviously, we've seen a little more in Hellblade 2. We have studios like In Exile and Compulsion Games that we know are working on things, but we haven't seen any real updates on that. So I titled all my questions Balance and Communication, because even in this, it's like, what is that balance on when you show something that is going to be years down the road, and kind of that cadence of providing updates along the way. And obviously, as we go into this showcase,
it's not the question. No offense, but it's not the question.
Some of those lessons learned from last year's showcase that you'll bring into this one.
Yeah, and you might try to get me on positive. I'm not in positive mode this
week.
Good.
You shouldn't be.
In kind of cranky.
And by the way, let's be clear. I'm not a mean guy. I don't dislike Phil Spencer at all. I don't want Phil Spencer to lose his job. As I've said, I love his vision, but look at him. This is what Phil Spencer's like. Phil Spencer's like, I'm terrible at analogies, little analogies on the fly. But it's like a guy who has a great vision and he sold everybody on the vision. And then but it's like, you're not the guy to execute it. I don't know if you guys remember this real quick tangent. I'm sorry. But when they launched PlayStation, they had a guy named Steve Race, who I think worked at AOL. And he was the guy that geared everything up and got it all ready. And unfortunately, he's the guy that convinced all of Sony to move to fucking buttfuck Foster City in the middle of fucking nowhere instead of even deep in the heart of LA or San Francisco. But whatever. Because he's like, I'll take the job, but I ain't going to move my family. I just got a house here in fucking Foster City. But once the PlayStation 1 launched, they got rid of him. And they brought in, I'm trying to remember who it was. It wasn't Bernie Stoller. It wasn't Bernie, but it was, they brought in, that was Sega, but they brought in somebody. And the reason they brought that person in, they said to the press, was they said, there's a difference between someone that can launch a console. And once the console's launched, the person that can run the actual division now that the console's out there. They're two very different skills. So again, Phil has the skill of the vision and getting everybody going, this could work, and saving Xbox when they wanted to cut all of their video games. I'm not saying this guy needs to go anywhere, but just listen to him. He is not, and look at his output. He's not the guy for this particular job. He needs some help. Let me get to the chat, then we'll keep going. As someone who's helped create, says, Maddie, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, someone who's helped create great experiences, what's the main thing you want to ask Phil Spencer? I mean, good God, man. If I had Phil Spencer, I would honestly, the first thing I would want to know about is his mental health. I know that's not what you want to know about, but this is almost like watching a hostage video, right? This is not a happy man. This is not a guy who's probably enjoying his job very much. He is in the wrong. So I would want to drill down and go, look, why are you in this job? Why don't you have help? Why can't you identify these scenarios within your leadership that clearly have failed time and again? What is the problem? Why can't you get rid of these people? Why can't you move people around? I get Microsoft is a huge company and huge companies are slow to pivot, but you've had a decade, man. So that's probably what I would ask him. Phil needs to hire, thank you, Tom, from Toonami. Phil needs to hire a goon like in the NHL to handle the studios. I know you're kind of joking, but you're not wrong in the sense that you need a heavy. You need somebody, look, let's put it this way. When Shu fucking Yoshida walked in to look at the God of Wars that we had in development, it was all hands on deck for 2 weeks when Alan Becker, who ran the studio, said Shu's coming down. It was flop sweat for 2 weeks going, we don't want to get canceled. You're always in fear of getting canceled. And maybe what it is people saying, well, we don't want to work that way. The younger generation doesn't like that stress. Fuck you. I don't give a fuck. I don't like playing a game and spending money on a game that's not good. The stress was necessary. The fear was necessary to get us to get our butt in gear and make sure we had something that he would lose his shit over and keep funding us. Okay? That I'm not saying Shu was a dick, but his actions could be dickish if he wasn't happy. And so you wanted to make him happy. That's how it works. That's how it fucking works. Phil is great at PR, says Ricardo Estevez. Thank you, buddy. PR is no longer enough. Right. Well, I don't even think he's great at PR. He would be great at PR 10 years ago, 20 years ago. Today's generation of gamers and just general media consumers are wise to this shit. I mean, it's like Leslie Stahl interviewing Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's like, wait, this doesn't work in 2023. Press the man. The community's mad. The community's disappointed. Forget kissing Phil Spencer's ass. Think about the kid. The kid, that 15, 14, 13-year-old kid out there whose parents don't have a lot of money and they bet the horse on the goddamn Xbox instead of Sony. And here's a kid now who is like, what the fuck? What the Sam goddamn cockadoodie fuck? That's who you're fighting for, kind of funny. You don't need fucking Phil Spencer to like you. You got him in the fucking hot seat. I don't get it. It doesn't mean go in for the kill and be mean, but, come on, push the guy. So I think, how long until Phil is out and Microsoft goes third party? Thank you for the super chat, Pro. I hope Phil is not out. One of the key things that I think good leadership does is recognize, look, if they would have fired me after the game after Twisted Metal, we would have never gotten God of War. You also wouldn't have gotten Drawn to Death. Go fuck yourself. But I mean, because my bosses recognized, okay, this guy has talent, but it's not producing. It is designing. It is creative, right? So I don't want to see Phil go anywhere. But I think anyone who can't look at this and recognize a problem, that's the problem. Carlos, thank you, buddy. I remember hearing from Colin and Greg that Shu was super tough behind the scenes. How true is that? Very true. The biggest problem with Shu was that he comes across in person and in his interviews like a sweet, kind, passionate gamer, and he is all those things. But he will still cut the fuck out of you, and not because he's yelling at you, but because he's just like, this isn't good. It's just very simple, but it cuts to the quick. All right, here we go. Let's go.
In terms of lessons learned, and I'll even go back to the Redfall videos on IGN of showing videos of the game running at 60 on PC, at the point knowing that the game was going to run 30 frames per second at launch on console. Like, we have to be transparent about what we're showing, that what we're showing is representative of what our console customer, our most committed customer to our brand, financially committed, what they're going to see, what they're going to play, and that transparency just has to get better. And I'm not pointing at anybody.
No, it doesn't.
Right?
It doesn't. Your transparency is irrelevant. PlayStation, look, and I like Xbox. I have an Xbox and I have a PlayStation. And I play them both pretty much equally. I love Game Pass, though. I love Game Pass more than I love PlayStation's exclusives. Let's put it that way. But PlayStation is on a fucking roll, and you think they're not coming out being transparent? They haven't announced anything in ages. Your issue is not transparency, man.
Brand, financially committed, what they're going to see, what they're going to play, and that
your issue is delivering.
Has to get better. And I'm not pointing at anybody but myself. Right. I guess
this is so
at
dumb.
Some point I will have enough knocks against me that it's somebody else here. But okay, good. Transparency in what we're building, what our aspirations.
You heard that quote. I don't mean to keep pausing it, but you heard that, right? At some point, I will have enough knocks against me that it'll be somebody else, right? I mean, you know. Again, your issue isn't transparency, Philip.
What it's going to look like, what the features are. And it drives me crazy when we self-inflicted wounds of kind of putting things out there of communication that's confusing or misleading about what the actual end product is going to be. So you can try to take me to positive space. I'm just not in that headspace right now. That said,
it would be like having, oh, this is so bad. It would be like having Hitler on an interview and just being like, he's like, I know, I did bad. I know it's that, so it's all on me. It's all on me. Now people are, Jaffe compares Phil Spencer to Hitler. They're very different things. And my last name's Jaffe. Fuck you. I get a card. I get to play that card every now and then. I'm just saying that it's like, the issue is nobody cares if you're taking responsibility. They care that they can't come home from school or from work and play an awesome fucking game called Redfall. And we're going to talk Starfield in a second, but
when I go and I look at Showcase, and I'm not going to try to oversell Showcase here, because if I were on the other side of watching this, it's like, hey, after Redfall, I'm going to put my hands on the controller, and that's what's going to take to kind of prove to me. But that's not what Showcase is. So I'm very enthusiastic about Showcase. We're going to announce some things that people haven't seen, some new games. We're going to give updates to some of the things that were on your list. The other thing that gets me really excited is when I look forward over the next quarters, which has always been my focus of how do we get a big game out every quarter at quality, that things are lining up finally.
Wait, I'm sorry. I have to
We're going to announce some things that people haven't seen, some new games. We're going to give updates to some of the things that were on your list.
Right.
The other thing that gets me really excited is when I look forward over the next quarters, which has always been my focus of how do we get a big game out every quarter at quality, that things are lining up finally after some of the slowdown through COVID. I'm tired of talking about that. But I can now see that we've got games coming every quarter that I think will surprise and delight our customers. We still have to deliver on the creative. We still have to deliver on the technical. Not every game we ship is for everybody. We know that. Like, I'm not trying to build the one game to rule them all. We will have different creative takes and we have a very diverse portfolio when you think about the stuff that Microsoft Game Studios builds. But I like that. I think for what we're trying to do as Xbox, which isn't to mimic any of the other platforms out there.
Good. You should not. You should not. That's great. I love that about Xbox.
Hopefully will end up being.
But let's be clear. It ain't going to cut it just because you have Age of Empires and Flight Sim. The diversity is phenomenal, but you guys have really dumb greenlight processes too. You guys greenlight stuff that is just not, you don't have any really great IPs. That's another thing they need to work on at Xbox. Their IPs are, short of Halo back in, when was it? The early 2000s, the mid late 90s. It's all very generic. I guess Gears is great as an IP, but I'm just saying the diversity, I love that about Xbox. I adore it, but I do think a lot of their diversity leans on super niche stuff, and they need some more meat and potato shit.
Being a strength, but we have to do it at quality. We have to do it on time, and we have to show people what they're actually going to see. We have to show gameplay, and I think I'm kind of beyond that. Like, we've got to put great games in the hands of our players. There's nothing else.
That's like what you would say when you're interviewing for the job, not after 10 years of failing on the job. You're just coming around to this perspective, Philip? Come on now.
If I could follow up on that, and I apologize, I do not want to dominate the conversation, but I make sure I want to follow up on the point of everything.
Yeah, give Gary a chance to say something.
From a personal standpoint, I've been a big believer in what Xbox has been building since about 2016, right?
Me
Xbox
too.
Play Anywhere, Game Pass, what you're doing with the Series X and S.
Excellent stuff. Excellent stuff. I agree with Paris.
I love all the services and the marketing message that you present to the community. But to your point, and for me personally, I have Game Pass. My kids play it. We all love it. But you even mentioned delivering quality experiences every quarter, things like that. that's the sentiment that we get from the community right now. That's the sentiment that I even have of, it's great to talk about these things. I think we've been talking about them ad nauseum. It's like, when are we going to get to that point of actually delivering these experiences? Like I just ran down those games. There's 20 something studios, forget Activision, Xbox Game Studios, what it is today. There's more than enough studios and titles out there that we're all anticipating. And I think that is the common frustration that I see out there from people, that it's like, we're tired of hearing wait till next year. And I know you know that, but
I know.
it's like,
I know.
Now, before he answers, I just want to say that's a good fucking question. And for whatever it's worth, I agree with him 100%. Everything he just said, I'm with. If this guy comes back and is just like, yeah, I know, I kind of fucking get it. Yeah, it's all on me. There's a way overused quote that I think Oprah, fuck you, made famous, which is it's not her quote, but she made it real known. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting a different result. The issue is sitting right in front of you when it comes to that question, Paris. The issue is he's not the guy to deliver that part, that piece of the puzzle. Oh, I want to do it. Yeah, I know. No, I'm with you. I feel terrible. Out of everybody who's saying that, I'm one of the ones saying it the loudest. We got to fix it. We got to deliver. That's what he's going to say. I guarantee it.
This year started out well.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay, maybe not.
Was received well. The team did a really good job, I thought, with the messaging around to your point, around setting expectation. And I will even say, yes, I'm rooting for the home team here, but I'll say over delivering on expectations of that show versus what it was. I think the drop of Hi-Fi to say, hey, if you've got Game Pass, you don't even have to buy the game. Like, just go click. People loved Hi-Fi. Something we don't talk a lot about that same month, Age 2 on console shipped. Truth be told, more people are playing a bunch of people are playing Hi-Fi and Age 2, but Age 2 actually has more players right now. But
You're going to, okay.
The fanfare goes to the highly rated kind of new Hi-Fi. Get that. I know the review scores on Minecraft Legends. Minecraft, I think, always reviews somewhere kind of different than the top. But if I look at the reaction, I think we've already had over 3 million people playing. I saw, like, its launch week, it was the #1 retail game on the Switch in Japan.
And then it dropped 70%.
Sits in terms of sales.
Then it dropped 70% the second week.
Like momentum is building, and then something like Redfall happens, and the Xbox community should demand a lot from us as a team, where we sit inside of Microsoft. We've got the resources to do better. 2022 was, as you said, a very light year, I think is what you said.
Come on now.
I might have other words for it. And then 2023, we started well, and this was a knockback. But it's our job to go and deliver on the next games. I can only look forward, right? I can sit here and wallow in my own frustration. But all I can do is say, I'm going to do better tomorrow than I did yesterday.
No.
And continue to support the teams. And
there's a point where you leave your abuser. Okay? I don't care if you want to do better. There has to be fundamental change, or it's just going to keep happening. There's no indication it's going to get better.
Continue to grow. But
it might. I hope it does.
It is ours.
I want to play Indiana Jones. I'm excited for Starfield.
And everybody can already stop. I don't want to hear what Phil has to say about the future, and I kind of fully respect that point of view. That we've got Starfield coming, we've got Forza coming, we've got Hellblade coming. Like, we've got collections of games. I'm seeing very good builds of Avowed and stuff. Like, we're in. Like, I can see it. But until you have a controller in your hand and you're smiling from playing our games, none of my words should matter.
They don't.
Shout out to Honey.
They don't. So that's the one thing Phil has promised that he's delivered on. Let me get the super chats real quick. Thank you very much for these super chats and subs. I really appreciate it, fellas. Very kind of you. Very courteous, very generous. Smoke has jumped into the fire. Oh, come on, Jaffe. Stop. I'm tired. I have sunburn. Listen, I'm convinced that Phil, says Smoke, doesn't know what great games are. 9 years in the job. Look at the portfolio. Hi-Fi Rush, great games. Shadow Drop, Redfall marketed to high heaven equals trash. I think it's really easy, Smoke, and thank you for that generous super chat. I think it's really easy, Smoke, to paint these guys or paint Phil and Xbox as trash, I think that's where I take issue. I think they're trying to do something really innovative and different and special that could bring great value to the medium. I am not looking to throw babies out with bathwater. So I don't agree with all. I don't agree with everything that you're saying, but I will agree with you that, it's been long enough that we should be seeing more. And even if I may, and I know they're going to talk about Starfield in a second, even if I may with Starfield, if Starfield comes out and shits the bed, we got big problems. If Starfield comes out and it's great, though, I mean, even think about that. At this point, think about how up against the ropes and how bad it is that Phil's allowed this company to get this, or this division to get this up against the ropes, that they are dependent on a single title, right? I mean, that's crazy that if Starfield comes out and it's great, what, all is forgiven? I think the only way you forgive Phil Spencer is he's got to have like 3 or 4 years of just of bang, 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 bang. Other, Mushroom Belt. Come on now, you got to get the reference. Bang, bang, bang. He's got to have 3 or 4 years of just good output, because otherwise, a Redfall was shit because it was a bad accident. Starfield was great because it was a happy accident. There's no sense that it's just like you're throwing spaghetti at the wall and hoping for the best. It can't be all dependent on that one title. That's what I would say. Cable Guy. Jaffe, do you think Xbox needs more? Thank you for the super chat, bud. You think Xbox needs more flagship characters for first-party games? They don't have many outside of Master Chief. I don't know if it's necessarily flagship characters, and I do respect the fact that Xbox does play, like I was saying, at least historically, to more meat and potato style gamers that aren't really looking for, Kratos or Jin Sakai or anything like that. But I do think their conceptual aspect of their IP is mostly insanely, disturbingly, disappointingly uninspired. So when he's sitting up there going, hey, we got Forza coming next. I know I loved Forza Horizon, but Forza is about as generic as you can get, right? There's no heartbeat to that game. Hi-Fi Rush is a feather in their cap in that way. There was a time Halo was a feather. Gears, depending on where they go with it with this new version, can be a feather. But for the most part, like when you're talking Age of Empires and Flight Sim and Forza, and even Minecraft these days, Minecraft Legends for gamers, I know my kids used to love Minecraft. I do think they really are lacking in somebody who's greenlighting titles that really give a heartbeat to their stable. And it's not so much they need franchise characters and mascots. That's nice if you can get it, but all their stuff feels very soulless for the most part. It doesn't mean the games aren't great. Forza's amazing, but it's fucking Forza. It's just a fucking racing game. So I would agree to an extent that they need something, but I don't think I would agree that it's just about the characters. I think it's about what they greenlight in terms of genre. Did I get this one? How long until Phil is out and they go third party? Yeah, I did, but I don't think he should be out. Okay, Mr. K, thank you, buddy. Mr. K, the super chat says, leave a like on the stream, cucks. That's what Mr. K says. Mr. K so desperately wants you to like him, but he can't help but put cucks at the end of the sentence, you'll so-and-so. Thank you, buddy, for the super chat. All right, let's listen to, is this Tim Geddes? Is that who this is? Here we go.
For sponsoring this episode.
Now I'm going to play it. Of course I'm going to play it. They, they're paying for their content that we're watching for free.
We all know there's nothing better.
I wouldn't do a new Mech Assault Eddie T because I think Mech Assault's also pretty soulless. I'm not going to skip the sponsor, Doomslayer. Come on now. Come on now. We are generating content and entertainment. We're having a nice time to spend together. And part of it is because of Honey. I'm not calling Tim Geddes Honey. I'm saying Honey is the brand he's talking about. Why would I skip that? DX Pone says, why do you hate Sony so much? Why in the fuck do you think I hate Sony? What are you fucking talking about? I don't hate or love companies, but I do love a lot of Sony's games. But I do think Game Pass is so far better than PS Plus Premium or or whichever one I have, which it has been getting better, by the way. But I do think, I'm curious if Meet Your Maker has done well, because that was a day one drop. I played the demo of Meet Your Maker and I liked it, but I don't hear people talking about it.
Do you know how much your subscriptions really cost?
Ice says Bloodwake, Azuric, Nightcaster, Blinks. Yeah, all of their IP, I think, has become.
You could be wasting hundreds of dollars each month on.
Yeah, it's never been very good. It's never been really interesting. How many excuses does Phil get, says Silver? That's really up to his boss, I suppose. He has said a couple of things in this
money, and it can help you to stop throwing away your money
in this very interview that has suggested that he knows he's on the hot seat. He really feels like a football coach, that it's like, how many more fucking games is he going to get to lose before the head of the college athletics department calls him in and says, okay, we're just going to pay out your contract.
What have you learned? I want to go back to that in the case of Redfall, even just as a case study for things like this when they happen in general. Because Redfall wasn't even the only game to stumble out of the gate this week. Look at the PC version of Jedi Survivor. What a mess. Unacceptable that game shipped in the
different
state
issue,
that
though.
They must have known. It was
different
the game has
issue.
bugs. No, you knew, and you shipped it anyway. So EA Respawn, for even on a massive title like that, it's going to be a Game of the Year contender. We all know that, but like the PC version was unacceptable. My understanding is the PlayStation version's a bit of a mess as well. So we still.
Okay, let's be clear. First off, I do want to say, Hellbent, good to see you again, buddy. Thank you for being a member. And Big Diddy 08 has stepped up to the bar and said, I want to support this here show. And I appreciate that, fellas. In your honor, I'm going to make up a song about you and Gary Whitta's bald head. Hellbent and Biggie were out one night. Then a man came up and said, let's fight. Hellbent said, I have a gun, I'll make you dead. And the bad guy said, I was just kidding. Let's go have sex on Gary Whitta's head. Thank you so much for joining the Diet of the Soldiers, fellas. I appreciate it. Zandatsu says, leave Gary Whitta's bald head out of this. I have a bald head too. I have a bald head too, right here. Come on now. But what he's saying, though, is not the same thing. Because, yeah, of course, EA should be dragged across the coals for shipping something so buggy on the PC. The PS version is not close to how bad the PC version was. They've already put out a patch for both. And underneath the hood, though, the reason it's given a lot more rope to hang itself is that people are like, yeah, but it's really fucking good. Right? It's buggy and that sucks and it's annoying and they should have done better and they should offer refunds, blah, blah, blah. But it's really fucking good. And that goes a long fucking way. Redfall isn't really fucking good and it's fucking buggy. So they're very, very different things in terms of the court of public opinion.
Seeing this stuff happening on the regular, just in general, when things, I'm fascinated, as you might know, I'm fascinated by the subject of failure because I've experienced a lot of it in my own career and in my personal life as well. And I think about it a lot. The number one quote that I stole from a person much smarter than me, I talk about it all the time when I talk about writing at creative seminars and things like that, is failure is not the opposite of success, it's a part of it. But that's only true.
I agree.
If you can get past feeling sorry for yourself when something fails and sift through the rubble and start figuring out, well, what can we learn? What can we learn from this failure? What can we take from this? What is teachable? And so I wanted to ask Phil, both in general and in the case of Redfall, I know you said you were going to work towards kind of turning the game around, but like, do you have a formal process? And what does it look like in the case of Redfall when something doesn't meet expectations? Is it something you get into right away, or do you?
No, you can stop. The question has been asked. We got it. We got it.
Wrong.
We got
how do
it.
we prevent this from happening?
Stop talking.
Process look like at Xbox.
Yeah, it's a great point, and I think I love your quote, Gary. I might lift that from you. People don't have to care about this, but I'll talk about it. When we acquire studios, there's games that are in development when we acquire a studio, and then there's things that are either really early in development or not even conceived yet. And I think we need to improve on engaging in games that are midway through production when they become part of Xbox. I do think there's a different expectation for a game.
Wait a minute.
And even a team become part. Improve on engaging in games yet. And I think we need to improve on engaging in games that are midway through production when they become part of Xbox.
I'm not doing a bit. I'm not pausing for dramatic effect. I'm literally trying to take in the staggering response. Yeah. Yeah. But you're the head and you're just learning this? Your epiphany of all of this is, I think we should probably get involved in the middle of production. You think? If I'm his boss watching this, I'm like, I don't know. It's like being a NASCAR driver and the owner of the car is hearing the driver go, I think I need to learn stick shift pretty soon. I might have a better chance of winning. You think? Idiots.
I do think there's a different expectation for a game and even a team when you've been third party and all of a sudden you become part of first party. There's a different expectation in terms of how you're going to perform on our console. I think there's a different competitive set when people look at what this game is and the other games that they're going to say, hey, I want this game to feel as competitive as this other game on another console platform in our case. And we didn't do a good job early on.
You're not doing a good job now.
Austin, to really help them understand what it meant to be part of Xbox and part of first party and use some of our internal resources.
Arcane doesn't need your help. This is the worst game they've ever made, and it's under you guys. Okay, so yeah, you should have stepped in, but to act like Arcane's this shitty studio and they could have used our help. Your biggest failure is you didn't know they needed help. The second biggest failure is assuming that you guys have earned the right to tell Arcane how to make a great fucking game.
To help them and kind of move along that journey even faster. So we kind of left them to go work on the game. They're a very talented team. I love that team, and I still do. And I will totally bet on them to do another great game. But when like Matt Booty and Jamie Leaders, running ZeniMax, and I sit down, I think we can engage earlier with our different studios. And I do think there's a difference when we come in when the creative's already set on a game that's not washing our hands.
I'm sorry. Here's some insight into how Sony works. You got a game in development at Sony. Now, I'm not saying Jim Ryan is flying all over the world playing these games. You don't want him to. That's not what he does. You think Herman, you think Shu at the time, you think Rhodey, you think Connie are not playing these fucking games? You think Connie Booth doesn't have herself down in the QA fucking department probably 20 times a week going, what do you think of the newest build? What's working? What's not working? This is not an epiphany you get to have as the CEO or as the fucking head of Xbox. This is the epiphany you have when you're a junior executive and you're like, I think I could do things better when I get up there. You're in the executive washroom. You don't have the epiphany now. You shouldn't have been able to get to the executive washroom without the goddamn epiphany.
Of any of the every game we ship from our teams is an Xbox game. And so it's a full responsibility for it. But thinking about how our internal processes.
You know what Xbox needs? Remember in the 80s, there was always the black police chief in the movies. Like there was the Lethal Weapon and Beverly Hills Cop and 48 Hours. It was always like, and he would just chew out the fucking protagonist. He was awesome. I love that trope of a character. Xbox needs the cop, the chief of, not the chief of police, the head of the department, the police head from the goddamn cockadoodie Beverly Hills Cop. It's like, Spencer, get in here. And he's just like, you think you're just now coming to that conclusion, son? I got fucking crime. That's what I'm. And that is how I will save Xbox. Thank you. Here we go. Let's keep going. Shh.
Even some of our internal ATG resources, what's the Advanced Technology Group, and how those work with our internal teams. I think we can do a better job with our internal teams. We did a better job with Starfield. Again, nobody should believe it until they're playing the game.
Oh, we won't.
But that game was earlier on in production, and it was easier for us to kind of swarm a bunch of people to go and kind of help with some of the technology on our platform and ensure that we're going to ship a quality experience there. And we should have been there for Harvey and the team earlier. I think that's on us. And then through the process, it's an Unreal game. We have a bunch of studios that have done some really great work on Unreal over the years.
You know what they should do then? If that's on you, Phil, not that I'm like, I feel like I need this, but if you're really serious about it, the last 2 months of Game Pass Ultimate, refund everybody's money. That's what you should fucking do. Or any Game Pass anyone subscribed to. Or give them the next 2 months free. Hell, even when Second Dinner fucks up with Marvel Snap, everybody gets a free fucking card. If you're sitting here going, yeah, we fucked up, we shoulda, I'm not saying it's going to make your games any better, but at least it'll sound like less than a PR soundbite. Let people know you really did fuck up and give them their money back. And
I think we were too late to help in that when they had certain issues that they were working through, which any team will. It's nothing to do with the specific engine. But we have a lot of experience, and we needed to get on that earlier.
I don't know if you do.
And we didn't do that. And that's not an excuse. You asked just to kind of diagnose. So when the 60 frames per second.
Then here is the question then. If it's not an excuse, one of those journalists on the stage there should say, okay, then why did that not occur to you? Why, after the failure or failures, and I love the Halo multiplayer, I'm not beating up totally on Halo, but why, after the number of failures you guys have had, did it not occur to you to actually get involved with Harvey and the guys in Texas at Arcane? I would love to know that.
Issue came up. We were definitely diving in. We had people from the Coalition and people from Rare and stuff looking, both teams that have done some really great work with Unreal to help us build a 60 FPS plan. But obviously that was a plan that had to be in place last fall in order for us to really be in a position to have it at launch. And I take that.
I'll tell you why I'm getting annoyed. Keep going, Phil.
As learning, as painful as it is, but as
learning.
you said, it's part of getting to success are those learnings and that diagnosis. There's a bunch of other stuff I could go.
Okay, 2 things real quick. I'm sorry. And then I'll get some chats and we'll keep going. Number 1, learning. Yeah, but you're the head of the company. You should have learned that by now. You shouldn't be in that position if you're still learning that level of fundamental shit. Okay, that's A. What was B? Oh, I'm all riled up.
I take that as learning, as pain and stuff, looking, both teams that have done some really great work with Unreal to help us build a 60 FPS plan. But obviously that was a plan that had to be in place.
Okay, had to be in place. Listen,
last fall.
So you're basically saying at some point, because you guys know this, Redfall retail in some territories have 60 frames per second on the box, and 60 frames per second on the box had to have a sticker put over it for legal reasons to say it's 30 frames at launch, okay? Unless that box miraculously was printed and manufactured last fall, which it wasn't, then ultimately there was a very large window when somebody at Microsoft should have known the 30 frames was going to be what it was, or they were in serious fucking danger. And they would have said, don't put that on the box yet. So the idea that, we didn't know until the last minute, again, that's a you problem, Phil. That's an Xbox problem. The fact that you guys are so tuned out of your own fucking games that you didn't realize they were coming in hot at 30? Goodness.
In order for us to really be in a position to have it at launch.
I don't mean to be a dick. I do like I love his vision.
As it is, but
I love Game Pass. I really do.
It's part of getting to success. Are those learnings and that diagnosis. There's a bunch of other stuff I could go into, but then we end up with kind of dev doc, which I'm happy to do, but yeah.
Well, Phil, we don't have much time with you, so I'm going
to... Okay, let me get some super chats. I appreciate it, fellas. X-rated, hey, buddy. He says, hey, buddy, hope all is well. 2 hours ahead in Texas. I appreciate it. Texas is the state where you guys are talking about putting the 10 Commandments in every classroom, huh? We got to talk about that, sir. We got to talk about that, buddy. But thank you for the super chat. Thank you for the support. I really appreciate it. Instant Messenger Sama, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says, I love the OG Xbox. I spent my teens with the 360 and the PS3. People blame Jim Ryan for everything. That's just not true. It's been almost 15 years since they knocked it out of the park. You don't mean Jim, you mean Phil? I'm not blaming Phil for everything, but we're not talking the era of Don Matrick anymore. Xbox One was not a Phil Spence'r joint, but taking over for Don and everything that's come since, I'm I do think there's value in blaming him and potentially bringing someone on to help him out. Shark, hey buddy, thank you again for the super chat. He says, kind of funny you're stepping on eggshells to maintain access. Maybe. I don't know that, but maybe. But look, let's put it this way. I mean, what do you think this is? You know, I mean, I'm going to talk about it on the next stream, but I got so frustrated because I was excited for Redfall because Game Informer did a really good deep dive a couple of issues back, and I talked about it on a stream back then, and I was like, oh, that's pretty fucking cool. And then I did not like the summer Redfall reveal, but then when Bethesda did the deeper dive with it with Pete Hines on stage, I was like, okay, cool. That's really cool. That's really cool. And it's like, you know what? You can't trust any of these fucking guys, right? I mean, Game Informer only wrote about the potential of the game. And I get it. If they want access, that's their business. But it's like, yeah, I mean, what do you know, I don't come to a show like Kind of Funny with their expensive desk and expensive lights and shiny floor and, neon signs in the lobby and expect them to not kiss the ring. Because if they don't kiss the ring, they don't get the views. But there's a point where I think now you have to start looking at this and go, it's not that these are bad humans. I don't think Gary's a bad human. Paris seems like a nice fella. I don't know the guy over here who, I don't know who that is, but they seem like nice human beings. But their job is not to deliver the news to you. Their job is not to be honest with you. The job is to basically be PR for these companies and excite you into spending your money. And that's not disrespectful. That's their job. And some of them do it really well. But there's a point where you have to kind of go, that's what they're going to eggshell to eggshell. That's what they do. That's what they do. Okay. Just want to make sure I got that one in there. Hang on a second. Yeah, they needed to crunch. Tripster, thank you so much, buddy, for the super chat and the sticker. I appreciate that. Very generous, very courteous, very sexy. I'm erect, and now I'm not. I just look at her looking at me. Wink. Look at her. Wink. I like her. I didn't like her at first when they said, hey, we're going to put her in the 50 Shades of Grey movie. But Dakota Fanning has grown on me. I think it's just the name. There's a wrestler called Dakota Kai. And her name itself is just sex. I have ADD, and let's keep going. Thank you, Tripster. I appreciate it, buddy. Let's move forward. Okay.
To go around the table, give everybody one final question for Phil. I'm going to rattle off a couple quick ones with you, Phil.
You said one final. Now you're going to rattle off a couple.
30 frames. Should Xbox players expect a clear message this summer with Starfield with 30 and 60 frames? That's a big lesson learned, as you brought up. Should we expect that answer? It's clear as day?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a great one. Another one, you see a lot of conversation, of course. I want to praise you and the team for really elevating the PC side of this Xbox ecosystem. I think we've seen a lot of great strides in that. But when you see the community talk about the console side of things, do you think you've lost the focus or maybe put too much onto the PC side? Do you think that the console is still getting the console?
Oh, yeah, that's not Dakota Fanning. That's Dakota Johnson. You know what I'm talking about. Dakota Fanning is the lady in the other motion picture show.
There'd be the homepage update, achievements, of course, looking forward and using the power of this next gen. Do you think you guys have lost that focus, or is it still there? And can we see more love on that side?
Well, we'll definitely continue to focus on making our console experience as great as it can be. I like the homepage refresh and some stuff. I will say, this might be disruptive as well. We have a different vision. Paris talked about this. It's play the games you want with the people you want anywhere you want. We want Xbox to be something that people who buy our console can feel like they're a member of. Obviously, who are playing on PC, who are playing on cloud, that they feel like they're full members of our ecosystem. Game Pass players can play on many different devices, and we remain fully committed to that. We're not in the business of out-consoling Sony or out-consoling Nintendo. There isn't really a great solution or win for us. And I know that will upset a ton of people.
Wait. The first thing you said makes sense. You should not even worry really about Sony or Nintendo. You should carve your own path. I love that. I love Game Pass is doing that. But what do you mean there's not really a win for you?
solution or win for us. And I know that will upset a ton of people, but it's just the truth of the matter is that when you're third place in the console marketplace and the top two players are as strong as they are and have, in certain cases, very discrete focus on
Now this
doing
may
deals and other things.
this
that
may
will,
be for the EU.
that kind of make being Xbox hard for us as a team. That's on us, not on anybody else. Our vision is that everybody who's on console has to feel like they have a great experience and they're a first-class citizen. They've invested a ton in our platform. But we are not in a position, and I see it out there. I see commentary that if you just build great games, everything would turn around. It's just not true that if we go off and build great games, all of a sudden you're going to see console share shift.
Well, if you try building great games, maybe you could see if it works or not, but you got to do that first. But anyway,
in some dramatic way. We lost the worst generation to lose in the Xbox One generation, where everybody built their digital library of games. So when you go and you're building on Xbox, we want our Xbox community to feel awesome. But this idea that if we just focused more on great games on our console, that somehow we're going to win the console race, I think doesn't really lay into the reality of most people.
I don't
Like
think most
90%
people
of the
really care.
every year who walk into a retailer to buy a console are already a member of one of the three ecosystems, and their digital library is there. This is the first generation where the big games that they're playing were games that were available last gen. When you think about Fortnite and Roblox and Minecraft, like the continuity from generation to generation is so strong. I see a lot of pundits out there that kind of want to go back to the time where we all had cartridges and discs and every new generation was a clean slate and you could switch the whole console share. That's just not the world that we are in today. There is no world where Starfield's an 11 out of 10 and people start selling their PS5s. That's not going to happen.
Well, yes, because mathematically it can. Right? What
we have to do, and we have this unique vision because we see what creators want to do. Creators want to build games that can meet players on any screen. People play with their friends regardless of what other screen they're on. And the console is the core of the Xbox brand. There's no doubt. So like we will stay focused on making sure that console experience is awesome. But I know some people want to hold us up of just being a better green version of what the blue guys do.
No.
And I'm just going to say, like, there's not a win for Xbox in staying in the wake of somebody else.
Okay, but let me just address.
We have to go off and do our own thing with Game Pass, with the stuff we do with xCloud, and the way we build our games. Sorry.
Okay, so if I have this is again, let's just take them at face value on that devastating run of verbiage. Let's assume this is not for the regulatory bodies to go, wow, even publicly, Spencer, hell, Jim Ryan did it. He came out and beat the fuck up out of his brand, and it seemed to sway the regulatory bodies. So maybe Spencer's taking a page out of Sony's book. I don't know. But assuming we just take it at face value, I can tell you as a guy who loves Game Pass and loves the vision of it and thinks it can be positively disruptive for the business, but more importantly, the art form of video games, which I adore. I don't care if they beat Sony. I don't want to see them take Sony's playbook and just do more of that. I love Game Pass because it allows for things like a Hi-Fi Rush to come out of nowhere or a Vampire Survivors, even though I know that that's not obviously an Xbox game, but it was on Game Pass, right? I love the idea that indie and AA games can thrive. Even things like, what was the game that they made at Obsidian? Not Illuminati, but the fucking painting game. I haven't played it, the detective story. I love that about what Game Pass allows. And I'm okay if Gears of War, like Hivebusters, is not a first party quality game compared to Sony, but it's a shit ton of fun, right? I don't need their first party games to be, and I think most gamers would agree with this, to be the most beautiful, best fucking, there are people who want that. But I think if they were delivering on the promise of, holy shit, cool titles all the time, Game Pass, some are big, some are small, they're most of them that were good and interesting and fun and worth your time, they would be carving their own fucking path through the industry. So this kind of feels this is such bullshit PR. You're taking this argument, or you're kind of building up an enemy, and then you're trying to make yourself noble by saying, we're not going to do that. Everybody who wants us to be that, we can't be that for you. We're going to do our own thing. Yay! And you're diverting and distracting from the fact that you've been trying to do your own thing for 10 years. And it's shitty. The output is consistently shitty. That's not true. That's inaccurate. I was wrong. The output is consistently inconsistent. And for every good thing that you're able to do by trying to carve your own path, 5 things fall between the cracks or just explode and are shit. Let me get some of these chats real quick. Thank you for the new subs, everybody. Tripster says, Jaffe, would it be a good time now to make a new studio and sell it to Phil? Actually, no. Now's the time to make a new studio and sell it to Sony, because Sony just bought 2 studios. What is it? Fire something and Haven. Neither one of those guys have actually shipped a game yet, but they still got paid and they got their companies bought. So actually, Sony's the company right now that's buying stuff kind of sight unseen. Tripster comes back again. He says, Jaffe, my takeaway from this is Phil just K'd his Sega 20. Wait, what? Let me make sure I understand what you're saying. My takeaway from this is Phil just made his Sega in 2002 speech. They see themselves as a publisher storefront first, console platform last. Yeah, I mean, again, I don't care what they are. I don't need them to be Sony. I don't need Nintendo to be Sony. And guess what? Nintendo's not. Nintendo's like, we're making our own shit. We're doing our own thing. I love that. That's the right attitude to take in a lot of ways. But Nintendo takes that attitude and they actually deliver on it. I know Haven's working on a new IP, but they haven't shipped anything. All right. But saying nobody needs Xbox for Game Pass, Fupy. Oh yeah, you're right. I mean, if they want to put Game Pass on PlayStation, great. I don't care where I play it. I could just as well not have to worry about charging another fucking controller or batteries. All right, let's finish up with Phil. See what he's saying here.
It was a little long-winded.
No, that was perfect. And unfortunately, we do have to say goodbye to you, Phil. I know that we have a hard out here, but I want to end it with something positive, Phil, because I've gotten cranky, Phil, this whole episode, and I freaking love you, and I appreciate you being on and being hard with us, but I do need something positive out of you, Phil. So before you leave, tell me and the Xbox community something positive that you're looking forward to, that you're playing, anything fun to bring a smile to your face.
Dude.
I'm going to go home and play The Last of Us. Can you imagine?
I'm an optimist. Like, I will always see, I'll use this for you, the gap between the trees. I'll always see the fresh POW. Like, this is why I'm here. I love the games that are ahead of us. I'm having a great time playing the games that are available in Game Pass today. I look in Ravenlock coming, Benedict's here. I just love playing
Ravenlock, which, by the way, launched today on Game Pass and is sitting at a 60. Now, let's be fucking clear. That studio made Echo Generation, which was really fucking good. Ravenlock, like The Medium, is not second party, but they knew it was going to launch day one on Xbox, Game Pass. Could you not spare? Your $1 trillion company couldn't spare a couple of fucking producers to send over to the developer and say, hey, let's make this a little better. This is for us as much as it is for you. We'll pay for the extra development time, but we need this to come out of the gate. Somebody in the chat is saying, Milk is saying it's a 70. I saw it was a 60. Can somebody fact check our work? Where is that? Is it called Ravenlock? Where is that sitting right now on Metacritic? I'm curious. Okay, Michael Quinn says it's a 60 on PC. I don't agree with that. The Spaz says it's like once devs find out their game is going to be day one Game Pass, they stop trying. I think it's a real problem to conflate the two things. We can talk about that in a minute. Okay, so it's a 60 on PC, it's a 70 on Xbox. 70 is still not great for what they need, but cool. That's at least better. But because I loved Echo Generation. Brett Morgan now saying it's a 69. I don't know what it is. Let's keep going. Here we go, Phil.
Video games. One of the things I am excited about is the ROG Ally, something I've got my hands on. If people have had a chance to play with that,
The what?
and I just love the fact that here,
The
love playing video games. One of the things I am excited about is the ROG Ally, something I've got my hands on.
The fuck is a ROG Ally? Lando, 70 is not trash. 70 is like a movie that you happen to love, but the critics are like, eh. Come on, it could be your new favorite game. What is it? Oh, it's a handheld. Oh, okay. Okay, gotcha. But that's not Microsoft, though, is it? That's, okay.
If people have had a chance to play with that. And I just love the fact that here's another device that people are going to get to go experience great games on, whether it's your Steam Deck or that or your Xbox. You know, I see the growth in video games. I get to spend time with creators who are excited about the opportunity that they have. I get to go play some amazing games. Some of those
great.
Game Pass, some of those not. And I just think the gaming space has never been more diverse.
Maybe they are setting up to say, let's get out of consoles and let's just fucking go in to put Xbox Game Pass everywhere. I don't fucking know. I don't agree with you, Design Malice. The 70s not worth playing. That's a ridiculous concept.
Creative than it is right now.
In my opinion.
It's a privilege to be a part of it.
I love hearing that. Paris, end us with this episode. What do you got to say? And let's get out of here.
Yeah, just a quick statement as we get out of here. First and foremost, Phil, thank you for doing this. This is clearly not the conversation we thought we were going to have when we scheduled this, but we do appreciate your candor and just being 100% honest about the current state of what's going on with Xbox. I am hopeful in the future we can have more conversations about what ID at Xbox is doing in their initiatives, Game Camp New Orleans, things like that are more positive and enabling more creators, because that's what I really wanted to talk about in this episode. But as we go into June, I am looking forward to the showcase. I am looking forward to the reveals that are coming.
No one cares.
You know,
no one cares.
I still think the future is
no
bright
one
for
cares.
Xbox and Xbox.
You have just said literally a minute of nothing. Nothing you said adds value to the world.
Xbox Game Studios and
it's
what
just
you have to
nothing.
Present.
Just say thanks,
This is a
Phil.
bump in
Appreciate the
road,
time.
But I still think the future is going to be bright. So again, thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks, Paris.
All right. Well, on behalf of my two gaming dads, thank you, Phil Spencer, for joining us on this week's Kind of Funny XCast. Of course, thank you all for tuning in and hanging out with us. We will see you next week, and Team Xbox will see you in June for the big Xbox game showcase and, of course, that deep dive into Starfield. Thank you all so much for watching. We'll catch you back next week.
All right, there we go. So let's chat a little bit, fellas. Here's what I'm going to do. I do want to say that Milk is saying, if 70 is not worth playing, why did you guys hype for Spoken? You're not talking to me. You're fucking not talking to me. I know that. I didn't say, I mean, I played the demo for Spoken. I thought it was, you know, it's fun. I enjoyed it for a few minutes or an hour or whatever I played, but I didn't want to play the game. But I do agree with Fupy saying that, you know, there's enough 80s to not play 70s. That's one of the reasons I love Game Pass, because sometimes a 70, I'm trying to think, like, one of the movies that inspired, believe it or not, God of War was The Scorpion King. Now, with The Rock, right? Most people would say The Scorpion King is crap or is a total C movie. And I can see that. But that said, though, it was exactly what I needed at that point in my life, and I loved it, right? So I love Game Pass because it does allow you to experience things that you're not going to drop real money on. So that's one of the reasons I think it's great for the medium, frankly. All right, here's what we're going to do. We're going to try something a little new. Let me get this super chat real quick, which you guys know I appreciate very, very much. Silver Joystick says Scorpion King was a great movie. For what it was, I agree with you 1,000%. Instant Messenger, thank you, buddy. He says it's been, he says it's been almost 3 years since they announced Fable and Perfect Dark. Still no gameplay. Also, Selma Hayek Prime is greater than Dakota Johnson. Well, I'm not saying Dakota Johnson is my favorite lady in the movies and stuff, but she likes me. She likes me. Will his word, says Trip. Thank you, buddy. I was just off thinking about Dakota Johnson for a minute. Will his word spook third-party devs? I don't see why any developer should develop for an Xbox console if this is their approach. Well, I think at this point now, it's not so much his words. It's the fact that it's a system that's built on the bones of, at least it's designed to be at the moment, the first party AAA output, because it's not so much that what he said might spook people. It might be more like, okay, if you guys aren't going to uphold your end of the deal, which is to keep people coming to Game Pass because you're releasing these awesome first party games that people have to come play. And then once they're subscribed, hey, maybe a month after, we drop our AA, game, like, the sequel to that shark game from Tripwire where you play a shark and shit. Then I think it might spook them. It's not so much what he said makes them go, we don't want to be on Xbox. It's what he's done, in my opinion, suggests you can't deliver the people to Game Pass with your main driver, which is Netflix's Stranger Things or HBO Max's, Succession or whatever. If you don't have that, then the niche stuff that those indie devs and third-party devs depend on in terms of audience, why would they go there? Why not go to PS Plus Essential Day One is what I would say. Okay, let me get some of these. Here's what we're going to try, by the way. I'm going to put up a link, and if we usually do Discord calls, and we can do Discord calls, but I think this is a little bit more interesting. I'm going to put up a link. Ideally, you will call in if you want to call in and talk. And you can. I'm just going to put the link in the chat window, so you can be on split screen, share your views. There it is, right there. I'll know when you're in there. Share your views on on what we just watched. In the meantime, I'll take the text chat. Let me see what's going on. I think we got that one and we got that one. Okay, so Kenneth Fox, thank you for the super chat, buddy. He says Phil doesn't need any praise. He has had to apologize multiple times for broken launches. When will enough be enough for Xbox fans? Enough is not enough for me to unsubscribe to Game Pass because, frankly, I'm still getting value out of Game Pass. I want to play Ravenlock. I want to play Last Case of Benedict Fox, even though I totally know that both of those have some serious problems. But if they stopped putting out regular drops on Game Pass of interesting indies and interesting AA's, then I would be with you 1,000%. 1,000%. By the way, I want to remind you guys, or people who maybe are just here for today's stream, coming up later this month, speaking of Xbox, the end of this month, the start of June, we have our first Gabbin' and Games game club. The game is Gears of War. We're going to do 2 to 3 episodes just with the members in the Cult Calypso tier higher. And then the last episode, Cliff Blazinski is going to come on. And if you've ever been to a book club or been in an English class where you've studied literature, it's like that. We're going to dive deep into that one game for a couple of episodes, talk about metaphor, story, game mechanics, things that could be better, things that influence the industry, blah, 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 our theories on things. And then we're going to bring Cliff on the last episode of our first edition of Game Club to really dig deep into the man who directed it and wrote it and really kind of gave it its life force and see what he can add to it. So let me see. Do I have, let me get this Digital Diarrhea. Thank you, buddy. Come on. No one is calling it. No one is willing to be a fucking goddamn adult. Put yourself, there's the link again. Put yourself on the goddamn cockadoodie camera and let's debate and discuss. All you fucking loudmouths always saying, Jeff, you're fucking a moron. I'm not fucking a moron, but you know what I'm saying. Let's go. Get in here, you old so-and-so. Look, Digital Diarrhea, thank you, buddy. He says Game Pass is like hometown buffet. That's okay. Chicken strips are fine and occasionally the chocolate fountain, but the rest is crap. I don't think it's that bad. I think it's like I think it's like a McDonald's or like the buffet at Luxor in Vegas. It's like, yeah, it's not, and that's okay. There is room for that. But in that case, though, Redfall, there's a difference between going to a buffet and getting food that's like, it's not great, but what I got out of it was all you can eat, and there was a lot of variety, and there was a lot of good conversation, and it was just fun to chill, and going to a buffet and eating something and getting food poisoning. Redfall is food poisoning. Hi-Fi Rush, it's a little better than a buffet, but you know what I'm saying. But I agree with the sentiment, though, Digital Diarrhea, absolutely, 100%. Okay. Jaffe, how can you look at Redfall when you hear Phil say great games won't help? I don't even understand. Crooked Vulture, that doesn't make much sense to me what you wrote. How can I look at Redfall and then hear Phil say great games won't help, then want more of the same? Who says I want more of the same? I don't want more of the same. I want them to deliver on their promises. I didn't like Redfall. I played it for 4 hours and now I'm fucking done with it. I want them to deliver on what they've promised. Game Pass is still good value, says Jean-Claude. I agree. Hi-Fi Rush, Atomic Heart, I loved. Wolong, I played the demo, Wulong, whatever. I haven't had time to play anything else. But I thought that was pretty fucking good as well. Beautiful fucking game, no doubt. Okay. Here we go. Show on stream. All right, I think we got somebody in here. We got Hellbent on the collab cam. Let me get him up on the screen for a second. One moment. This will take me a second. I don't see you, though. Can I just hear you, Hellbent? Are you there?
Can you hear me? Howdy, howdy.
Okay, let's do this. All right, Hellbent, you are on, but I don't hear you or see you. So I will keep talking to the chat. And if you want to jump on,
does that work?
Wait, now would be the time. Otherwise, we'll bring somebody else on. Okay. We can hear him, but his audio is lower. You guys can hear him. I can't hear him at all. Okay, let me fix that real quick. Yeah, that's my bad. Okay, 1 second, Hellbent. I'll be right there.
It's okay. My camera's
I know
busted.
why.
I'm sorry
Yeah,
about that.
I know why. All right, Hellbent, will you say something?
Howdy.
Say it again.
Howdy, howdy.
Okay, let me get this.
Test 1, 2.
Sorry, fellas, this
Check
is
on the phone.
relatively
Howdy,
new to me.
Check.
Not streaming, but you know.
Yeah. Won't blow you out. I got you.
Okay. Hellbent, are you there? Hellbent, are you there? He's there, but
Yeah.
nobody can hear him. Can't I hear
Testing
him?
1, 2, 3. I can crank it up, but I will blow your eardrums out. I promise.
Speaking, but I'm not hearing. It's clearly coming through because you guys can hear it, and I see his bar moving. Yeah, Hellbent is a voice fucking actor, fellas. My kids saw that Hellbent followed me, and they're like, "You know Hellbent?" I'm like, "Yeah, I known him since Twisted Metal." Why? And they're like, "He's a fucking famous voice actor or something." Oh, there you are.
Hey.
Wait, okay, hang on. Now I got you for some reason. Say something again.
Hi, it's me, Hellbent. Howdy.
Okay.
Check 1, 2.
Okay, one sec. Say it again.
Test 1, 2. Test.
Okay, cool. I can hear you, but you are really low, and I'm wondering, that might be on my end, but let's see. I have you turned up to 100%. Can you turn yourself up on your end?
Yes, I can. How's that? Is that too loud? That's probably too loud.
It's better for me. Okay, I'll turn you down a little bit. Okay, so let's go. Hellbent, what do you think? Your camera's busted.
My camera's busted, but I'm coming through. Can you hear me? Are we good?
I can hear you.
All right. I like Game Pass, but after playing that Star Wars game, that wasn't on Game Pass, but Star Wars and Redfall, I at least like the Redfall came out on Game Pass and had to pay $70 for it.
Right. But I mean, when you heard Phil Spence'r talk just now, do you feel that he did more damage or more good to the Xbox brand? Or do you think anybody who watched that, you're going to go in thinking one thing, you came out thinking the thing you came in assuming you already thought, if that makes sense?
No, I get you. What I think is I like Xbox Game Pass, but the next big game that comes out on it, I'm going to assume it's going to be broken out of the gate. I'm just going to have that assumption now because I'll have the bad taste in my mouth. Playing Redfall, it's not ready.
But even if it's not, even if Starfield comes out and it is astronomically, bizarrely, an 11 out of 10, as Phil Spencer suggested as possible. Are you suddenly going to believe? Because I'm going to need to see a pattern, not just like, one game that works, right? I mean, if Starfield knocks it out of the park, are you totally a believer, or you're just like, well, I'm not going to.
in Bethesda at that point, but we still got Halo sitting there on the back burner. That's sitting there kind of broken, not completed. Did they even put co-op in it at the end of the day? They promised that day one.
I know. I mean, Halo has gotten a lot better. What's weird about Halo now is everything that they said they were going to do that I thought was going to move the needle, like adding in the Forge mode, which has had tons of really cool maps, getting new modes in, fixing some of the battle pass. It still hasn't really, I still don't hear anybody really talk about it. I don't think it's actually done what I had hoped those changes would do.
Yeah, I want to see a multiplayer Halo game that's successful. I want to see them take an IP like maybe Fable that's just sitting there dormant. People love fantasy games. Boot it up. Make one. I mean, it takes like 6 years, but make one. Make a good one. Make a AAA. Sony's knocking them out of the park at God of War.
They are. But I even think Fable is I mean, again, I was a PlayStation and a Nintendo guy more than an Xbox guy in the previous generation. So maybe if there are enough people out there that played and absolutely adored Fable and really give a shit about Fable, then sure. But to me, Fable always came off as just kind of generic sword and sorcery. Like, it almost feels like the Forza of RPGs. Like, there's no heartbeat to it. It's just like really good version of, rip-off Tolkien. Is that not accurate?
No, you're right. It is it's that mid-grade fantasy thing to where it's like watered down Lord of the Rings. So, yeah. They got Master Chief, though. He's cool. I like Master Chief.
Yeah.
There's something with him.
Listen, I got to tell you one more thing before I let you go. Mr. K says his girlfriend, like he has a girlfriend. My girlfriend just got wet from hearing your voice. Do you look as good as you sound? How about that?
Oh, well. Yeah, I'll just say I look twice as good as I sound.
Interesting. Did he go? Did you leave? That was a hell of an exit, sir. That was it. That was it. All right. If you two want to jump on, ideally the camera or the collab cam, and talk to me about what we just saw with Phil Spencer, there is the link in the chat right there. P Turtle, at the moment, I'm not going to I'll bring P Turtle on, but I'm only going to bring him on for a brief moment because I don't want to get lost in the woods with this guy, and we can get lost in the woods pretty easy. Here's Pete Turtle, everybody. Pete Turtle, it's Jaffe. What's up, man?
Do you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear, sir. What's going on?
Let me tell you, man, that just destroyed Xbox. The brand is finished. It's done.
What do you think the most damaging thing Phil Spencer said in that interview that you feel hurt Xbox the most?
He did at the end that the Xbox brand is shit. It's third place, and they can't do anything about it. And they can't compete with Nintendo. They can't compete with Sony. So then, what's the point of even having an Xbox, a console?
Okay, well, I think they're going to do some damage control on. Oh, he's echoing. Say something, Pete Turtle, real quick.
What's going on? It's Pete Turtle, baby. It's Pete Turtle, baby.
Okay. My guess would be that they're going to end up doing some damage control on that last part, because I think what you took from him saying we can't even compete, I don't think he expressed what he was actually trying to express. I think what I got from that was not we can't compete with Sony, but we can't compete with Sony and Nintendo by simply trying to be Sony and Nintendo. We have to make our own path. And in that will be the way that we build a healthy Xbox community.
No. I disagree, because he specifically said they can't out-console Nintendo and Sony. He never specified the kind of games or anything. He basically said within the console market, no matter how great their games are, he'll never be able to get, the Xbox brand will never be able to compete with those two.
I think this is a little.
He threw in the towel.
There's a little nuance, though. Okay, he did.
No, it's not.
what I think he was communicating. Well, here's what I got from the communication. And again, the chat seems to agree with you. Of course. I knew you were going to say that. But what I got was not him he is saying on the grounds of, will we be the number one console manufacturer? He was conceding that. He was not conceding that Game Pass can be in its own right, like Nintendo in its own right, is a very loved, valued, very successful, lucrative player in the video game market. I don't think he was saying that at all. But I do think, yes, he conceded the, quote, console war, but that's...
But did it also basically say that no matter how good the games come out, they can't compete? By just making good games, he does not believe they can compete.
In the console war space for this generation, yes, he did. He did.
Throwing in the towel, my friend.
He threw
in the towel.
He's throwing in the towel on what I think he feels, and I don't know if I totally disagree with him. What I think he feels is a battle, not a war worth fighting or winning. He's like, I think he's saying, look, whether we're first, second, or third place in the console war is irrelevant. If we are really profitable with our Game Pass across, like he mentioned, the Steam Deck and that new Steam Deck competitor and PC, and maybe even he was hinting that it'll eventually be on PS5 and consoles, like it'll be Steam for consoles. Then I think he has a great point. And that's kind of, I don't think the man's so dumb that he was just like, yeah, I give up, we're losing. I think he was trying to explain the console war itself is not really the fight he cares about. And that's why he was saying, I know that's going to disappoint some fanboys out there. That's what I took. And I could be wrong, but that's what I took from it.
Well, I will say this last thing, because I know you're about to get me off.
Yep. Come on now.
The one thing that I thought he did say that was valid was he did speak about the fact that they lost the Xbox One generation was the worst generation to lose because of the digital games.
Yeah, sure. I agree.
That is very true because...
But I will say, though, that Xbox has done a much better job than Sony in having you turn on your Xbox. Like, for example, right now, I am playing Gears of War because I have Game Pass and I'm playing it on 360, but I'm playing it through my Xbox. And it's just part of Game Pass. So to be fair to Xbox, I do think their sense of being more like Steam is, where I don't even think of generation anymore. I'm like, oh, I want to play that, and it's on Xbox Game Pass. Cool. I think that's a better deal than we're getting right now with PS Plus and all that. But, I do agree with you, though, that they fucked up bad on Xbox One for sure.
And I'm just saying, most of the people I know in my life, they didn't even think about getting an Xbox strictly because they had a huge library of games on the PlayStation already. It didn't even matter what Xbox had. The only time I ever heard people within my social circle say that they were willing to buy an Xbox, believe it or not, is when they did talk about buying Call of Duty. But then once it was kind of understood that, it would still be available on all platforms, they didn't even consider Xbox anymore.
Right. Okay. Let me do this.
To be honest, I remember a long time ago, Jaffe.
Yeah.
This is the last thing I'm going to say.
Yeah.
You made a good point a long time ago.
It's been a long time since I made a good point, Pete Turtle. I know.
Fair. I agree with you, but you said that maybe Xbox should market to like the dude bro demographic.
Yeah, they need more meat and potato stuff.
A little bit more of the, right wing or conservative or even alpha male, whatever they want to appeal to, right? Because originally that's what Gears was. That's what Halo did appeal to.
That's right. That's absolutely right.
And I think if they did that, of course they would be huge. It's just, ESG and all that, they're stuck. And the world we live in, again, it's so homogenized. They want to create everything for everyone and maximize their dollars. But I think if they did that, the Xbox brand could compete. But then,
all right. Pete Turtle, thank you, buddy. We'll talk to you soon. We'll do it. You know what we should do? We should do another Jaffe Pete Turtle exclusive show down the road in the next month or two.
Man, I've been doing some therapy. I'll be a little bit nicer next time.
I don't care if you're nice, but I got to hear about your therapy. That would be excellent. All right, man. Talk to you soon. Enjoy the grapes. Enjoy the grapes, sir. Juan Garcia says Pete Turtle is right. Come on now. Phil has thrown in the towel and explained his real agenda, which is Game Pass. But I don't think that's news, right? Is that news? We've always known that. I think Phil has been very clear. Play everywhere. If he can get Game Pass subs with, with what he puts on that system, I don't think that's like, oh yeah, he conceded. I think it's like, yeah, that's what he's been saying. I'm a 52-year-old man, fellas. 7 says, Jaffe, you capping hard. I don't even understand. Is he saying that I'm, expressing things well and I'm expressing wisdom, or that I am trying to cope? Because I'm not, anybody who's watched this show today knows I'm not like I'll defend anyone just because I like them. I think that, there's a poll up right now. 72% of you guys think that Phil hurt the brand. I don't think that was a good interview for Phil either. But I'm not capping if that means I'm trying to make excuses for Phil simply because I'm going, I heard a bit more of a nuanced view. Because think about it, I don't think he's literally going to go out there. Okay, well, somebody says it means lying and then not lying. Okay, so capping means lying. I don't think he went out there as the fucking head of the goddamn division and he's like, oh, I didn't think at the end. I just, I said we're last place. We don't care. We suck. I think he was trying to express what I said he was trying to express, is what I would say. Thank you very much. What do we got? We got Gravedigger. I said, buddy, I want to become a member of the Diet Soda Soldiers. Buddy, I appreciate that. Good to have you back. Good to see you, sir. Thank you so much for that support, Gravedigger. And then, of course, good Sir Hellbent comes in with his silky smooth voice and his silkier matinee idol looks. And he says, think about the pretty privilege. Think about not just the women that he can get if he's into the women, or the men that he can get if he's into the men folk, but with the voice. And then if he really is good looking, what is that like? And I think every human should be able to have an experience where you can experience pretty privilege once, if you're not already beautiful, once a year, because it seems fascinating to me. But what if Hellbent is hideous looking? No one's hideous looking, but hideous as society judges. But he's got that voice, right? And so it's like Cyrano de Bergerac, right? But it's like he's semi like that, not exactly like that. And so he's like, talks to the girl on the phone. She's like, oh my God, I'm so moist. And, this is a game show. Focus, listen. And she's all excited. And then he shows up and it's Danny DeVito. Nothing wrong with Danny DeVito, but he's not society's idea of a... Thank you for the super chat, Hellbent. That's very generous and I appreciate it. He says, excellent commentary. Thank you, buddy. The L Web 100, thank you, sir. He says, Sony turned the PS3 around with great games. Very true. Excellent, correct. Nintendo turned it around with the Switch. There's no excuse for Xbox. I agree. And I don't think they're making an excuse. I think he's saying, I don't care about the console wars. I care about the subscription service wars. I care about making that insanely successful. That's what I took from it. Sweet Daddy Lindo says, Jaffe, do you think PS5 showcase is rumored to be happening this May? Do you think it will be as massive as the rumor? I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know if they're actually going to be doing that, a showcase. And even if they are, you know how these things go. People get all excited and then it's like, oh, I think if they have a showcase, it's going to be Spider-Man 2. Maybe if we get lucky, we'll see factions, for whatever they end up calling it. Maybe we'll see some announcements like teasers but I don't think it's going to be some fucking massive Mondo thing. No, I don't, because we never get those anymore. Sony has proven they don't need those. And I think to expect them is just to lead yourself into a realm of disappointment. Addy Pie says Sony has to do a showcase. I don't know why. I would like them to do a showcase, but I don't think they have to, because they're selling, again, somebody got convinced that hotcakes sell well. I guess they do. They're already selling well. They're already selling really well. They don't have to. 16 months. Thank you, Nikki T. Died Soda Soldiers. I appreciate it, buddy. He says, has there been any insight on the state of Starfield? Would not be good if the thing comes out rough. All we know really from today's interview, if that's what you mean, because I haven't heard anything else, is that one of the guys asked Phil point blank, it's like, by the deep dive this summer, which is what, next month, will we know if Starfield is going to be 60 or 30? And he said yes. So that's the only new insight, Nikki T, that we did get regarding that. Okay, I am going to bring in, I have to know the story how Xbox came, says Chunky Mac. Why? I don't care. The fuck do I care? I mean, I don't mean that disrespectfully to you. I'm just saying this idea that, well, if you knew the narrative, you'd understand. That's not my fucking job. That's not my fucking job to care about the narrative. What do I care? It's Rage Mode Methods is calling in on the Discord. What's up, good sir? Good to see you.
What up, Jaffe? How you doing, man?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm doing well. I just wanted to comment a little bit on this poll that you put out.
Yeah.
I think Phil absolutely hurt Xbox with this.
69% of the chat agrees with you. Why do you think he hurt it?
So, I mean, if you're watching the interview itself, I mean, he's both visibly and audibly flustered. And I think that's just, there's something very wrong with that. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
What I agree. What do you think he like if he had to go on this show, short of basically saying I'm stepping down because it's not acceptable, or I'm going to give you guys 2 months of Game Pass for free or something? I mean, what could he have done to make to have done well for the brand? Or should it have simply, he should have said, I'm not doing this interview right now?
I mean, if he was in the mood that he was in, I probably wouldn't have taken the interview. And I understand that the guy like gave him kudos for showing up even when
nobody cares. It doesn't matter.
Bad time.
It doesn't
Right.
matter. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, what I would have done is just, admit what you've done wrong and then talk about how you're going to fix it. Like he doesn't. He's always saying.
But he
things
did.
Like,
But he
"It's
did
on
do.
me, It's on me.
But he did do that. He did do that, right? He said we are going to be. Oh, let me turn up your volume a little bit. He said we are going to be. We're going to get more involved, in production, than we have been in the past, and he said a lot of things like that suggested to me. It's like, well, dude, that's not a, like I said when we were watching, that's not an epiphany. Of course you should that you should have been doing that to begin with. So didn't he already do that?
I mean, that's part of what hurt him. Right? I mean, people were looking at what he just said right there, especially after your take on it. It's like, wait a minute, how is this just now becoming a thing for you? Like, seriously. And
right.
So it's like,
so he did what you said he should have done, but if he and it didn't, and it's still 69% of you guys, including me, think that he hurt the brand.
Well, my main reason for saying that is because of the way he came across is somebody who has a boss who has lost his way, right? He's not in
100%.
control anymore. That's what it looked like to me. So I don't know.
No, I agree. But what should they, was there a win other than the best loss you could take? And to me, the best loss he could take, if this was the best win or the best he could do, was just not show up and say, yeah, I can't right now. I'm flying out to make sure Starfield next month is the best it can be, and just do some bullshit PR spin and make it up to him later. Because, I mean, other than saying I'm stepping down, I failed you, or other than, I don't know what else he could do. I think that would be the
been better
that's
than
the
this.
best win.
It would have been better than
this.
100%.
I agree.
Yeah,
100%.
absolutely.
All right, man. I appreciate it, Rage. Call him back anytime, buddy. I'll talk to you soon.
Yeah,
all right, man. All right. Let me bring in Ravnos. Ravnos, it is Jaffe. What's going on, man? Good to talk to you again.
Yeah. How's it going, man?
Well, hemorrhoids acting up a bit. Had a dream last night about Katy Perry, but short of that, not too bad.
Yikes.
Yeah,
I didn't see the whole thing. I came late. What I did see was
That's what she said.
Yeah.
Chat, did you hear what I said? He said he came late. Anyway, keep going.
Yeah. I came in when he basically said we can't win. We're third place and there's no win scenario.
Yes.
Even though he's technically saying truth pretty much at this point, you don't kind of put that out there. I don't know what business school he went to, but I'm pretty sure they teach you to go on to a thing where people are going to see it and admit that you can't win. That's not really
Okay, let's dive into that. Both what you're saying, and there's a guy in the chat who's kind of echoing what you're saying, where he said basically, you're admitting even great games won't save us, right? So a couple of things though. It was Leo. Leo says him saying even if they make great games, they'll forever be in third is unacceptable, right? But the thing about it is, how many times have we looked at this kind of shit and gone, God, I wish they would just fucking be honest with us instead of just spin.
Well, there's a difference
so you gotta,
between honesty and like public just giving up.
Well, okay, and like I said, and clearly I'm in the minority, but tell me if I'm wrong on this, because I just think he didn't express it well. I don't think he actually was like, we're giving up. Even if we make great games, we will never be first place. He was saying in the console wars, right? He's saying he was basically conceding that particular battle doesn't really interest him. He's much more interested in the Game Pass battle and the subscription service battle.
Why is he the head of Xbox? Because last I checked, Xbox was a physical device, and it's how Microsoft makes money from game sales.
Okay, that's
how they make money from game sales, Jaffe. You should know
what
it.
I'm saying.
When you're a manufacturer, the waste.
Wait. Okay, so first off, Phil has been saying since the beginning of Game Pass, play everywhere, right? He has been suggesting. Okay, so it's not like this should come as news, but Xbox as a console, honestly, they will probably, and not even probably, they will definitely make more money if Game Pass becomes as great as it could, because the real money comes from the third-party games that license in every copy that sells, whether it's a Game of the Year game or the next BB and Tina game. All of those, the Xbox company or the Microsoft company gets a percentage of every single thing sold. So they need Game Pass to be awesome, so the people who have the console will subscribe to it, because the games that get purchased for it will make the money. What do you mean? But I don't think Phil's biggest goal though is that hardware box. I think he's made that clear.
I mean, I think it is fine to expand into other avenues, but literally this Play Anywhere thing. You said sells. Define stuff. Let's just take a game, Redfall. Some people, mainly content creators, who were going to shit on it because they heard it was terrible. They bought it for, I guess, $70 on PC?
I didn't buy it. I got it on Game Pass.
Right? So how did they make any money from you playing on Game Pass?
Because wait a minute, but it's very clear. It's just like the assumption is not so much that Redfall is going to turn a massive profit. The assumption is that Redfall is going to cause people to subscribe to Game Pass in a big way, because it's a first-party AAA game and people are like, whoa, you got to play Redfall. Okay, I'll subscribe to Game Pass. Oh shit, I finished Redfall. Oh, look at these other games I've never played.
What? How much is... I got my Game Pass for $80 and it's 6 months. Okay? I spend more money on buying 2 games.
I'm not going to get into the conversation about, is it sustainable? What is the math? I don't know. I don't care. What I know is the company has gone all in to the point that they're willing to invest almost $100 billion in buying Activision, because they feel Game Pass makes sense. Okay, so whether or not you agree or not that Game Pass makes sense,
I think it makes sense.
The discussion we're having is built on the bones that it does, and if it doesn't, that's a different conversation I really don't want to have, because neither of us can prove if it makes sense financially. We just have to either trust them or not.
Yeah.
But the fact that he's more in on Game Pass, I think that's clear.
I think, perfect example. Does PlayStation Plus Extra hurt Sony and cause people to say, I have no reason to buy a PlayStation 5 when I could have... No, because guess what? It only works on your PlayStation. You can't...
Yeah, but you're arguing... Yeah, but nobody cares. You might care, But what Phil Spencer said literally, and again, this guy in the chat, Jaffe, you're capping. No, I'm not. I'm saying that his vision is that Game Pass is where he wants to put his focus. He doesn't care if he loses the console war. It doesn't mean anything to him. I don't think that doesn't mean that's not good or bad news for you, but I thought that was an honest answer.
Jaffe, it is an honest answer. I just think the way he delivered it and the look on his face and his mannerisms,
that's different. He was a total hostage video.
Yeah, it was like a capitulation. Okay, I'm capitulating that, yeah, we're fucking sucking and we can't win. It wasn't like, hey, you know, our goal is...
I got you. On that, we agree, Ravnos. It's good to hear from you again. Don't be a stranger, y'all so-and-so. Thank you, buddy. There goes Ravnos. I'm going to bring on Kill Dill. Let me get some super chats first, then I'll bring Kill Dill on, and then I'll bring New Yokio on. Thank you guys for the generosity and the super chats, the memberships. Big, God damn it, Jaffe, come on, stop having the stroke. Big Itty, wouldn't it be something if I had a stroke in like a month and people went back to this clip and said, he said he's going to have a stroke. Big Itty is saying, Phil's not the CEO of Xbox Games, he's the CEO of Microsoft Game Studio. Either way, I mean, it's all marbled in. I know what you're saying, but again, people can take issue, Big Itty, with the fact that Phil has conceded the console war, but the console war is this thing that lives in fanboys' heads. Nobody gives a shit. Most people really don't care. I don't care, for example, if Netflix has less subscribers than HBO Max, and I don't care if both of them totally make Shudder a blip on the radar barely in terms of their subscription numbers. What I know is Shudder is fucking awesome, and it gives me exactly what I want, and I adore it, right? That's the main thing we're talking about. Whether or not it's a battle that's irrelevant, frankly, when it comes to Phil Spencer, and I think most gamers, honestly. Thank you so much, Tripster. He says, for those talking about sustainability, how many games make over 5 million in sales each year? At 30 million subs, Xbox make over 240 million a month. Yeah, I mean, I hear you. I appreciate the super chat. This has been talked to death by many people who are much smarter than I when it comes to math and economics and all that stuff. All I will ever say is you're one of the biggest companies on the planet. They clearly have run it through the money-making machine. They clearly think there's a path to success here. And they also think that path to success is so possible that they're willing to drop almost $100 billion. So do with that data how you want to do with that data. Kenny Fox of the Connecticut Foxes, very good family. Smell like gasoline in the 70s, though. Says Xbox is getting trounced by PS5 and console sales. Why release console at all if they don't care about it? I don't think he's saying they don't care about it. I think it was probably they were like hoping it would do better. Phil clearly, like we've been saying, felt that he got the shit kicked out of him. They wanted it to do better. But I think this is probably the last Xbox console going forward, and they're just going to go all in on Game Pass. I mean, if that's what it took to get to that, which I think could be a bright future, great. A lot of things are like Gary would have said, I agree with. A lot of things are born out of failure. Tripster says Phil wants to be the next Stadia, basically. Again, yeah, sure, maybe, kind of. I mean, ultimately, everyone's going to be the next Stadia. The difference is you're going to have streaming working in a lot more places, and you're going to have great libraries. And frankly, look, if Phil puts Game Pass on Nintendo or puts Game Pass on Sony, you don't have to stream. You don't have to stream it on PC right now. But the idea of Stadia, I do take issue with that, where everybody's painting subscription services as a negative because of Game Pass or Stadia or Luna. All of these have suffered for reasons that have nothing to do with their business model. In fact, Game Pass as a business model was one of the few divisions at Microsoft last quarter that actually grew. Septic Sauce, thank you, buddy, for being a member for 14 months. I appreciate it. He says, who the hell is Shannon Studstill? I say hire her only because you keep mentioning her. Much love, Gaz. Hello, Gaz. Shannon is the woman who produced God of War with me and then went on to run Sony Santa Monica and produced all the God of Wars up until 2018. She produced Corey's and then she headed out. She's also worked at EA. She's the best production producer I've ever worked with in my life. And she would be just phenomenal at Microsoft, helping them turn their shitty creative management around. All right, let me get some of these nice folks in the chat. This is Kill Dill coming in hot. Kill Dill, thank you, buddy. What's up, sir?
What's up?
How are you?
Pretty good. How you doing?
I'm good. Not too bad. What's going on?
Big fan. I just wanted to say, like,
Thanks, man.
this whole Xbox being consumer friendly for, like, you know, probably since the 2013 reveal of the freaking VCR Xbox One.
Okay.
You know, I've been with them this whole time. You know, I'm a huge Xbox fan, huge PlayStation fan. I love all games Nintendo.
Me
Doesn't
too.
matter
Me
PC. I don't try to get into all the console war, but you know, them trying to pacify us with the backwards compatibility program, just a lot of the consumer-friendly things, like even Phil just coming out and taking this PR hit and trying to do damage control. Like, I think, you know, I can speak on behalf of all Xbox. It's just, this doesn't work anymore. I don't care. Like, they could be the most consumer-friendly compared to PlayStation, but if they can't put out anything quality, like, regardless if Game Pass is impacting that because they can't manage to, like, do these smaller titles for Game Pass and also do the AAA, you know, because it seems like even before Game Pass, they couldn't even manage the AAA, you know, like...
No,
I even
they've
go back...
never, ever had that down. You're absolutely right. I mean, but all that does is add more to the concept that Phil Spencer is right for Xbox, but he is not right in the job he has right now, where the buck stops with him when it comes to product development. I mean, think about it, man. The fact that you are, it's like being the head football coach, but you have, it's like fucking Ted Lasso, right? You've never coached football, but you coached your kids' little league, and you have a lot of other, you know, good things about you, but suddenly you're, you know, coaching the NFL team, and it's like, dude, that's not for you. So I just think I think it's a ridiculous concept. People want to make a lot of stuff about him saying at the end of this interview, oh, no matter the games, will never beat Sony or whatever. Where they should be making a big deal, in my opinion, is him having these like aha moments of like, gosh, you think we should get involved sooner in the games that are going to be exclusive to Xbox? It's like, yeah, you fucking moron. Yeah.
I think, like, when you look, especially, like, and I'm not trying to, like, jump on all the huge gaming trends, you know, like, I look at, like, Battle Royale, for instance. When that hit, you know, you saw, like, to me, you know, I foresaw, like, the big industry, like, overall, like, you know, Infinity Ward, Sledgehammer, all them. I figured they would take, like, Battle Royale and basically copy that once they saw it hit from, like, you know, the indie space. And, you know, as much as people probably wouldn't like to see like a Gears of War Battle Royale or a Halo Battle Royale, that's probably in, I guess in talks, they're making that behind the scenes. Like, they were so behind the curve on that, it made no sense to me, because I know, like, I don't want them to copy that, but at the same time, it's like you see the other people doing it, you know, with Warzone and things like that, and there's success there, you know, and it's just, I feel like they're so behind on anything that it makes no sense. And as much as I would want them to copy a Battle Royale,
it is weird.
It'd be
that
obvious to me
ears
if I
to
was
the
them
ground.
to at least do that.
Well, I tell you what, I would not want to gear. I mean, if they make it, I'll play it and see if it's good. But I would love a Gears extraction mode, though. I would love to do a Gears extraction. I think with those fucking
fit.
Yeah, absolutely.
It has merchant holes with a locust.
Kill Dill, thank you. Oh yeah, Kill Dill, thank you, bud. Call back anytime. I appreciate talking to you, man.
Yes, sir, thank you.
All right, see you, sir. Let me get a couple more calls and I'll get to the super chat. Here you go, ladies and gay gentlemen. Button up your overcoats. It's about to get wet or hard. I don't know. Shh, quiet, Jaffe. It's Hellbent. Hellbent is back with a silky, sexy voice. What's up, buddy?
Hello. That other program was confusing.
I know. Fuck me. Go ahead. What were you going to finish with?
Okay. When Microsoft got Obsidian and did Grounded, that worked really well.
Okay.
And they need to do more stuff like that. Get me something like Grounded. Get me something interesting and fresh and put it up there and put the money behind it. And even if it's early access, that's fine as long as it works out of the gate. Just do that. Keep doing that.
Yeah, but no. See, I disagree, because the problem is it's not consistent. So what you really have is either, if they were able to do that consistently, like let's put it this way. Phil and Matt Booty have painted the image of them as a group of executives that are pretty hands-off. And so sometimes with a seasoned team like Obsidian, that works. Or with Timmy Schafer stuff. In the case of Arcane this time, it didn't. Or in the case of getting Halo and 343, it didn't. So basically what you're saying is, if you're saying just do more of that, what you're really saying is do more of rolling the dice, and sometimes we'll get lucky and sometimes we don't. unless they are really great at only bringing on studios that have a brilliant track record of delivering without any kind of interference, then I don't think they should keep doing that. I think they need to be more involved to make sure that things are staying on track, because there ain't no goddamn way. Sony would have not shipped Redfall as is. They probably wouldn't have greenlit it to begin with. They certainly would have canceled it. But I don't think the way they did Obsidian is right. I think they just got lucky. Just like they got unlucky with Redfall, because they're absent parents. These are all latchkey kids of Microsoft at this point. That's what I think.
Well, you do make a good point. Thinking about how Sony handles it, FromSoft isn't owned by Sony, but Sony has two of FromSoft's most coveted titles. They got Bloodborne and they got Demon Souls. They're selling the PS5 with Demon Souls. That was a push.
You goddamn right.
And it worked.
Do me a favor before I let you go. I want you to enter the mic, and I'm going to get free work from you. That's the way it goes. Welcome to the fucking capitalist system. I want you to say, you are now listening to Gabbin' and Games with David Jaffe, the only man who is racist but makes the Queen of England moist. Go.
You are now listening to Gabbin'. You are now listening to Gabbin' Games.
Well, start again. Here we go. And action.
I'm used to working with a script, Jaffe.
Yeah, well, just ad-lib.
You're now
Give me
listening
something.
to
Give me
Gabbin' Games
ad-lib.
with
Give me
David Jaffe,
something.
the only man who can make the queen squirt. Is that what you said?
Yeah, go ahead. Go.
You're now listening.
Because I was talking over it. I'm going to shut up now and go when you're ready, when you feel the spirit.
You are now listening to Gabbin' with Games with David Jaffe, the only show that'll make the queen.
Gabbin' and Games. Sorry, go.
You are now listening. Hold on. You're now listening to Gabbin' and Games with David Jaffe, the only show on the internet that'll make you squirt harder than the Queen of England. What did you say?
No, I think that's great. Listen, I'll meet you behind the dumpster after the show. Thank you, Hellbent.
Thank you again.
See you, buddy. That is a voice, man. That is a voice. Listen to this. Hey, is that playing? I don't even know if that's playing. All right, let's keep going. Let me get some super chats, and then I will get to some calls. So Tripster, thank you, buddy. He says, Phil has been in charge of Xbox longer than the most presidents have been in office. For him to not know how to do game dev at this point is beyond me. Yeah, 100%. The L Web, thank you, buddy. He says, Game Pass has no bangers, though. Xbox will not win subscription war with mediocre games. Netflix has exclusive bangers. I agree. That's what I'm saying. 100%, you're absolutely right. And that is the problem. Games do matter, but they matter for winning the Game Pass war, the subscription war. And I think a lot of people confuse the console war and think the console war is the most important thing. It's clear it's not to Xbox, but you're absolutely right that if they don't get that shit together, for what a great Game Pass game can be, like Hi-Fi Rush, for example, and some of these tentpoles that have to be great, then they're fucked, 100%. Thank you so much, Trash Gamer.
I can't help but be racist. It's true.
It is absolutely true. It's not true, but it is true. But it depends if you subscribe to critical race theory, which I do. If you don't, then you just don't understand what I'm saying. The point is, Trash Gamer, thank you so much for becoming a member. I appreciate it very, very much. Okay, why did that thing get delayed, though? Was that me or somebody else played it? Let's see. Hang on.
I would like to rear up and jackknife my legs and kick you both with my foot bone.
There you go. It's working. All right, let's bring in New Yokio. New Yokio, it's Jaffe. What's going on, buddy?
Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you great. What's up?
All right, so I know you said that you don't think it's like people are focused on the wrong thing on the interview with the whole it won't just take good games, but I feel like that is one of the more important things said, because I don't think it's even if it's not a console thing, I feel like it was just that loser mentality that he had. It was like, and I feel like he is wrong too. I feel like it would just take good games. If you look at, PlayStation 3, they brought it back with good games, or people say it doesn't work because look at Nintendo with the Wii U, but the Nintendo Switch launched late in the generation with no games but the good games that the Wii U had. So I feel like he can't be. I feel like the interview made it look worse. Do you not agree?
I agree it made it look worse, but I think I really do, and this guy in the chat's going to keep saying, Jeff, you're fucking lying, or you're defending Phil. Clearly I'm not defending Phil on this, but I think he was expressing an idea. It's kind of like if you are in, I don't know, I guess because I went to a Padres game yesterday and I'm watching Ted Lasso, so sports are on my mind, but it's like if you stood in front of your fans for your football team and you were like, this Friday, I want to explain why we're not, getting into the nuance of football theory and game theory and playmaking and all that. A lot of them might hear the negatives. It's like, well, this player really isn't delivering. He's got this issue, but what we're going to do is play to his strengths, but not force him to do this. What they really want to hear is we're going to fucking kick their fucking ass, and everyone's going to cheer and think it's great. And I think Phil was trying to be, in that last part, a little bit more nuanced, where he was saying, because I think he's right, where he's saying we're not going to compete with Sony. He was saying, we're not going to give you the AAA obsessive 5-year development, Naughty Dog, everything is spit and polished to perfection and it's winning technical awards. He's like, that's not our business model. He's saying, though, that we do have to make great games for Game Pass, which is like making a great game, a great item for McDonald's or a great item for a buffet, and they're not doing that. But I think a lot of gamers only heard, oh, you're not going to give us the AAA Sony stuff and you should do that. And he's like, yeah, that's not what we're doing. I think he could have made that a lot clearer, because I did take that from what he said. I did not take that he's just conceding. But I also agree that it wasn't helpful that it came across and he looked defeated as fuck. I think that's a bad message of nuance to be delivering when you look like you just got the shit kicked out of you.
Yeah, and also, do you think that because he hinted at it kind of twice, he hinted at it once. He said he got overpaid, and then he kind of hinted that they might get him out. He was like, if I keep messing up, there'll be someone else sitting here.
Yeah.
I felt like, do you think they would fire him?
I don't know what they will do. I couldn't tell you anything about his relationship with the CEO and his contract. But what I would say is, I think he's had more than enough chances, and I don't think he should be fired, but someone needs to be brought in that knows what the fuck they're doing when it comes to executive product development. They are all over the industry. They're not easy to hire, but they're, you got to pay a lot of money for them, but they're easy to find and identify and start getting your HR people working on prying those people away from other companies to help Phil, so Phil can do what he does. But if they don't make a shift, I think they're a fucking group of fucking morons at this point. He is clearly out of his league and out of his depth when it comes to managing product development or having people manage product development that report into him simply based on stuff he said in this interview. I think he knows he's on the hot seat, and I think he should be on the hot seat, but I do not think he should be fired, but he needs some help. All right, buddy, thank you for the call. I appreciate it.
One more thing.
I got people waiting.
It kind of ties in. It
better be good. It better be good. It better go.
Is it him, or is it partly Matt Booty? Because would we blame Jim Ryan or Herman Host if it was the same situation?
God damn it, Maverick!
That was a little good. You're right. I would say, look, you can blame Matt Booty. He probably should be blamed. You can blame Pete Hines. He should be blamed. But end of the day, where does the buck stop? He's the head of Microsoft Game Studios. And ultimately, it's not Phil Spencer's job to know how to do product development any more than it's Jim Ryan's job. But it is his job to look at the people he has running it externally and internally and go, they're failing all over the fucking place. That is his job. All right. Thanks, buddy, for the call. Call back anytime. Nice talking to you. Logan the Lurker, thank you, buddy. He's been a member for 11 months. I appreciate that. He says, Jaffe, it's not fair to compare Phil to Gus Malzahn. Gus coached my brother in high school. They actually did some good consistently. I'm talking about Gus Malzahn after he was the coach of Auburn. I don't mean when he was coaching high school football or coaching UCF right now. But when he coached Auburn, that motherfucker was on the hot seat constantly. And fans were like, look, he's a nice guy. We love him, but enough. All right, let me bring in Island J. It's Jaffe. What do you want to talk about, buddy? Island J. There you are,
What up, Jaffe?
What's going on?
What up, Jaffe?
Well, doing a show.
Okay.
Doing a show.
Yeah. Nice talking to you again.
It is nice talking to you too, sir.
Yeah. So I think Phil did exactly what he had to do. I think it was on point, and I think that it came off well. And here why I would say so.
Okay.
Phil did not come in all cheery and all jolly to give this news. He came the way he's supposed to come, humble, and said, here what? He messed up. He's going to do better. He even said, don't even take his word for it. only take his word when the controller is in your hand and the game plays well. So I could respect that, given all the scenario that is happening.
Okay, but how many times does he? If this was the first time he said that, you would be right. But let me ask you a question. If there was a big plane crash and the pilot survived, and he's like, "You got to trust me. This time is going to be the right time." And let's say you gave him a few more chances, he kept crashing the plane. And then he's like, dude, you keep crashing the plane. No, I say I'm going to do good, but trust me, I feel bad about it. And do not trust that I'm going to fly the plane well until I land it when we get to Atlanta where we're going. Would you get on that fucking plane?
Hell no.
Right.
Hell no.
So him saying the quote right thing is irrelevant. The time to say that was 5 years ago. The time, what he should say now is either I'm stepping down or I'm bringing in people to help. This is unacceptable. I'm in over my head. That's the honesty. That's not the bullshit PR honesty. The honesty is I'm great at part of this job. Part of this job I suck at. And I've been given more rope to hang myself and I've finally done it. So starting Monday, we're going to start looking for somebody to come in and do the shit I suck at. That's the truth.
But, well, he did say they would look at the type of games that they roll out, because he did make a good point where he said prior to Redfall, most of the games that came out of Microsoft Studios was at least high 70s, 80s, 90s, and so forth. It may not have been the games that typical Xbox fans are used to. They went down the more diverse line with Grounded and Hi-Fi Rush and so forth and so on. But they did review well. But this one here was an outlier when it comes to Redfall.
I mean, there's always an excuse. I mean, Redfall, yes, but Halo was a problem. Shipping without software was a problem. What's the god? Perfect Dark is a problem. The fact that they are, haven't revealed much of anything when they said in that, we talked about that 12-month plan, is a problem. He is out of excuses with anybody who should be taking him seriously. He's out of excuses, and that's fine. But to act like, I mean, at this point, and I don't bring it up because I don't make light of like physical abuse and domestic abuse. It's just, it seems the apropos metaphor where it's just like you hear about the abuser. Okay, I'm going to stop now. I won't hit you again. I'm sorry. And I'm sure they mean it. But then they haven't worked on their own shit. They haven't dealt with whatever it is that's driving those demons. And 2 days later, their spouse is on the floor bleeding and the person's raging. He's lost his ability to ask for forgiveness. At this point, they need to bring someone else in, or he just needs to shut the fuck up, go away, and blow us away for the next 4 years, and then all will be forgiven. All right, Island, I appreciate the call. Thank you, buddy. Thank you, sir. All right, let me bring in Venom. Venom, it's Jaffe. What's going on? What do you want to talk about? Venom, where are you? Are you there? I will bring in Nox instead. Nox, it's Jaffe. What's up?
Hi, can you hear me?
I can hear you great. What's up?
All right, the one thing I didn't like what he had said was when at the end, when he was basically saying he's about to leave, he said, what could you tell me you're excited about? And he mentioned the ROG ally.
Yeah.
Like him kind of throwing more Game Pass into it, where that's what he's excited for. I mean, he could have gave us a game he was playing, something. He could have gave us something more, I thought.
Well, he could, but to be perfectly fair, though, that's even meaningless. I don't know if you watched the Matt Booty interview that they did with him a couple of months back. We had it on the stream and we watched it together and talked about it, where he was like, the Fable guys showed me some stuff and I really wanted to show it, but they're like, no, it's not ready. And so I let the development team call the shots. And it's like, I don't need to hear about this amazing shit these executives are seeing behind the scenes anymore. They've played that card as well. They have played so many of the usual get out of jail free cards already that at this point, if you're really following this and you're really engaged with this aspect of the industry, the only thing that is acceptable is to either say nothing and just shut the fuck up and hopefully turn the ship around, or accept defeat and go, here's how we're going to fix it by bringing in people who know what the fuck they're doing. Because they've already played that card. Matt Booty was gushing over Fable. This was 6 months ago. We still haven't seen anything from Fable. A game that Matt Booty, if you go back to that clip, he was just like, oh my God, this thing is insane. It's so fucking gorgeous. It's so fucking beautiful. Really? Sure. You've had it for 6 months. Can we get a screenshot? Can we get something?
I agree. Game Pass is a good value, right? But I think that they went in too hard, too early, I think, with Game Pass. Like, I think they've basically left the console business right now. Like, they are in it, but next generation, they are not going to be in it. That's my opinion. I think that they went too...
I don't think they went in too early if you had been a good product development group. I think they've had plenty of time to go in when they went in and be delivering. Because at this point, given all the fucking studios they own, you know, Redfall should be great. And all the games that have slipped should be on the cusp. And they should have other things coming out. And they should be, like I've said many times, they should have sent people out to Benedict Fox and sent people out to the Medium and sent people out to Ravenlock and said, we know we're not second party with you, but you are important to Game Pass right now. Let us help you. They didn't do any of that. So, all right, thanks, buddy. Listen to this. I didn't catch this. Ricardo was hitting me up. And he says, what about this, Jaffe? It's a good point. I want you to think about this for a minute. It's a great point, Ricardo. Ricardo says, you know, he had this amazing opportunity to say Starfield is 60 frames per second, right? They asked him point blank. And he's like, all he said was, I'll be able to tell you absolutely at the showcase. Now, one could argue, I mean, being 60 shouldn't be a victory lap. So it's not like, oh, we're saving that. Like, fuck you, saving that. That's like the Chris Rock joke where the dad is like bragging that he takes care of his kids, and Chris Rock is like, you're supposed to take care of your kids. You know, it's like, that's not a feather in your cap. But the fact that he didn't say that he didn't say, oh, no, of course, locked at 60. Where he's like, I'll tell you next month. Tell me next month. Yeah, I agree, Ricardo. That doesn't sound great. Doesn't mean it is going to be 30. Although Tripster says it's already announced that it's going to be 30. Okay, well, there you go. Well, maybe that's why. But he should have said that then. Mr. K, no, they didn't ask if it was 60. They asked, will we know soon? And he said, yes, I agree. But what Ricardo is saying is that if it was going to be 60, that was a great opportunity. The fact that he clearly doesn't know if it's going to be 60 is all you need to know. This is Jamal from Jamal Township in Animal Jam. What's up, buddy?
How's it going, David?
Very good. What's going on with you?
Awesome. So I just wanted to say that I think that your whole perspective on Game Pass being like, I don't fucking care like how much money this is or isn't making the company. I care the value that it brings to me in my house playing video games. That's awesome. Now, I think that the thing where they're like kind of lost in the plot is that a lot of the morale of their fan base has been built on, you know, comparisons, unfortunately. So like, oh, Sony, oh, you've got Uncharted. Well, Microsoft just ponied up and got us Tomb Raider, like exclusively for a year. Fuck you. Like, I think that Xbox gamers want that AAA experience. Like the
but
$70
I think at this point it's safe to say that is not what you go to Xbox for. And that's
absolutely
okay.
No,
and
I
that's
agree.
okay to walk away from it and say, but that's what I want. It's like, cool, Sony will serve you now. Just like you don't go to Nintendo. You go to Nintendo for really, you know, wonderful generational IP and really unique takes on classic game mechanics like the new Zelda. Yeah. And they're serving that. But I think you're right. I think it is right to push that message, because the sooner, you know, they can push that message, the sooner the fanboys who really think it is a direct one-to-one competitor with Sony, and I thought it was too, but he pretty much has shown you through his actions and more, and he's also shown you through what he said today that that's not what they're going for. And I think there's a market to be served there. That's one of the reasons I love Game Pass.
And I totally agree, but here's my problem. They're trying to have their cake and eat it too. They should just pivot and say, we are Game Pass, we are more service driven, but we still take care of our people. That's awesome. But with Starfield being, okay, you can play this on any platform except that one, it's kind of like ass backwards to me. Like, just take my money.
Wait, except which one?
Starfield. Like,
you
that
can,
being
you can play
exclusive
Starfield
to Xbox.
on...
Except you can't play on PlayStation.
Well,
so it's just
is PlayStation's new... Is Factions going to be available on Xbox?
No, I totally agree. Like, that's fine. I just think that we're not in the AAA exclusive game. Like, we're not there. But
Well,
then
I think they will get there. I think they are going to end up on PlayStation. I think they will be out of console by next generation, and they'll be all in on Game Pass. And I think, look, I don't judge somebody for having to sort of get the shit knocked out of their initial plan to arrive at the top of the mountain through stepping stones that were built out of failure, just like Gary Whitta was saying. So maybe they did enter into this generation with every intention of competing directly with Sony, and that was their messaging. And now they've realized it's like, look, this is what we can do well with Game Pass, and let's carve our own path. And I think that's great. But I do think if you've bought the Xbox and you expect them to be pumping out Uncharted's and Ragnaroks and Shishimas, I think you're in the wrong space. And I do think I appreciate Phil making that crystal clear today. Well, not crystal clear, but he started to as clear as he could, because a lot of people took it as like, see, you said you will never make good games and it doesn't matter. And it's like, I don't think he was saying that, but
that's going to be blown way out of proportion.
Yeah.
And I'm going to mute my mic again. But the last thing I want to say about this whole thing is that apology tours are really fucking bizarre. They need to stop that. Like, stop doing that.
I think with this, I don't think it was meant to be an apology tour. Like they said, the Paris was like, I wanted to ask you about other Xbox initiatives, and then this news just demanded that we talk about this. But I do agree that Phil should have, unless he had a better thing to say, he should have backed out of this interview and said,
It's just so overexposed. And you would not see Jim Ryan being like, I am so sorry that Forspoken wasn't accepted well. What the fuck is that? It just, I don't mind leaders falling on their swords. I mean, you can't. Jim Ryan's the guy that went, to Brussels and was like, we can't compete with Call of Duty. And it's like, you have some of the, it's bullshit. That's also him doing his job.
Right. So I think for whatever it's worth, Phil seems to think, or PR seems to think,
that this is his job.
That the perception of Phil being one of the guys, and he's going to be honest with people, maybe it's going to help, maybe it's going to hurt. I mean, I love that he did it because I like transparency, even though it was only semi-transparent, and it gave me content, and I love talking about this shit. But end of the day, though, I mean, if it was really me and I'm like, what is best for Xbox? I would have said, if that's my North Star, don't fucking go on any shows right now. Don't do shit. Be in your office practicing and working on the script and working on the flow and pushing developers to make sure your summer showcase has some fucking bangarang shit. That's all you should be living and breathing right now. That's what I would tell them.
For sure, man. Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, Jamal. All right, Venom, this is going to be the last call, but I don't see you're there. If you're there, are you there? Venom.
Hear me?
I can hear you. What's going on? I can hear you, but I think you're on a
Jaffe,
delay.
I think you're doing great with this. So
I think you're listening to the shows on a computer or something, and we're not talking in real time. So you need to turn that down and just listen on your phone or your headphones to the Discord. Newtonian, thank you, buddy. He says, I just got here. What I missed, man. RTR, be right back. What's RTR? I don't know what that is, but thank you, Newtonian, for the super chat. I appreciate it. RTR. All right, Venom, what's up?
So now?
Not really. I'll tell you what, I'm going to be quiet, ask your question, then I'm going to hang up on you and answer your question because there's a weird delay. So what is your question, sir?
Man, I'll try calling back. If it's too late, no worries, next time. Okay,
all right, thanks, Venom. All right, there he goes. Fella, that's been Gabbing and Games for whatever. May the 4th. That was a long show. But it was a fun show. I hope you guys enjoyed it. New members, welcome. Mods, thank you. Super chatters, thank you. And everybody who showed up to be part of the community, I appreciate that. It's very kind, very courteous, fellas. I will be I was going to do a proper Gavin Games Gold today. I'm going to move that for tomorrow because I'm kind of fried from this. But I will be streaming some Jedi Survivor from the get-go because I finished Resident Evil 4 last night. I'll be playing a little Jedi Survivor from the get-go for May the 4th. And then I'll be back with the proper Gavin Games sometime tomorrow. Again, don't forget, if you're interested in a membership, all that's down below. More importantly, we're into the month of May now. So we're going to next week start doing Gears of War Game Club. We're going to have 2 or 3 episodes of that where we dive deep into that classic game and then bring Cliff Blazinski on at the end of the month, the start of June sometime. If you want to be on the show live to talk with Cliff, to be part of our sort of roundtable of discussion, only a 10-man seat. We got about 8 seats or about 6 seats filled already. So if you want to get in that last 4 slots, God damn it, y'all, so-and-so, bring yourself into the Cult Calypso room and sign up and blah, blah, blah. Be well. And thank you guys. I'll talk to you real soon.